The story begins with a purple butterfly flying over her leg. There is a dark stocking on her leg. A girl with a sumptuous bust leaned forward and rested on her outstretched arms. Two girls with an excited blush on their cheeks look at the hero. The girl in green clothes, Zhao Techui, is a member of the Jade clan, and the girl in purple clothes is Lu Shunin. A man in dark clothes and a smile on his face tells them not to hurry, because everyone has things to do. The man's name is Zhang Lan, and he is the gatekeeper. Suddenly, the stone wall shatters with an explosion, revealing another girl. Everyone in the room is dumbfounded by her appearance. She screams that this is an outrage. The girl is very displeased. She is the empress of the Jade clan. She asks the man how he dared to take advantage of her absence. The man breaks out into a smile. He replies that now she is here and they will all be together. The man finds himself in the arms of girls in green and purple robes and happily tells them to ask the empress to try out the weapon. The empress finds herself pinned belly down, her right hand behind her back. She blushes and tells him to let her go, because she is the empress. Zhang Lan is indignant and says that it has become very noisy. The purple-clothed girl presses herself against his chest and tells Zhang Lan to hurry up. A man wakes up. There's a knock on the door of the Jade clan's gatekeeper's room. The knocker demands to open the door. Two girls stand at the gate of the Jade clan, resenting why the doors are closed during the day. The girl with brown hair says that the Jade clan is the only female clan among the 6 clans in Huangzhou, that all the female nuns here are proficient in martial arts. The girl with brown hair whispers that the Jade clan hates men the most, and there aren't any male dogs within a 100-kilometer radius. The gate opens and the gatekeeper comes out puzzled. He asks what has happened. There is an awkward silence. The man looks at them in bewilderment. The girls run away, screaming and calling the gatekeeper a smelly man. The gatekeeper shrinks back and thinks the girls are out of their minds. The man slams the gate shut and yawns. His name is Zhang Liang. He works as the gate guardian of the Jade clan at the foot of the mountain. It all started 3 days ago. Then the hero was taking a bath at home and suddenly felt that the bottom of the bathtub was cracking. A passage opened up in the clear sky, from which the hero fell out. Naked, and with shock on his face, he flew downward. He fell on a stone statue during the Jade clan's ancestor worship ceremony. At that moment, he thought that he was going to be killed. The 13 swords appeared to be pointed towards Zhang Liang, dumbfounding him even more. But the Empress interceded for him. With a calm expression, she said not to kill him and to send him to guard the gate at the foot of the mountain. Zhang Liang walked into his rooms. He didn't have any skills, and so he had to lay low for a while. Zhang Liang rubs his chin and blushes as he thinks about the Empress. He thinks that she is very good. Suddenly, the hero's heart starts pounding and he feels sick. He starts to sweat. He notices that he's burning up and asks what's wrong. Some kind of golden orb unfolds and pulsates. It signals the activation of the system and the awakening of the heart. A voice from somewhere announces that the Overlord readout is complete, speaks of a god-level entry system, and speaks of activation. Zhang Liang looks around confused. He asks what kind of place this is. The voice responds that the Overlord has activated the god-level system and has now been given the task of logging into system number 1. The voice tells him that he has until midnight tonight to reach the Empress Junquanyao's bedchamber. The reward for completion is unknown, and the reward for failure is death. He hesitates in disbelief, and can't believe that he can get within 800 meters before he is already being chopped into mincemeat. Silhouette responds by telling him to shut up, as he has no right to argue. The concentrated energy hits Zhang Liang in the chest, and he starts to fall backwards. His eyes water, and he himself screams in pain. The voice says that if the hero does not complete the task, he is finished. The hero hits the floor, falling painfully from above. Zhang Liang cries and bites his lip. He says that this is bullying. We see a spectacular view of the palace at night. This is the abode of the Jade clan outside the main palace. Zhang Liang decides that he'd rather try to complete the task, because the reward for completing the task should be something that will save his life. He moves forward. He prays to God that everything will go well. 10 minutes later, he jumps out from behind the corner of a building and presses himself against the wall. He finds himself outside the Empress's palace. He looks around, waiting for a clue. He turns to the voice, wondering if it is playing a joke on him, and asks why it is not answering him. The voice says to go to the bedchamber. To the hero, these conversations remind him of radio communication. Zhang Liang quietly opens the painted wooden doors and peeks inside. The Empress is sitting in a room surrounded by blue energy. She is meditating in a cross-legged posture with her hands on her knees, in total immersion. Zhang Liang realizes with shock that things are bad because the Empress is still awake. The hero hears the Empress's thoughts. She asks who it is that wanders outside the walls of her bedchamber and dares to break in, and that if she could not stop at the crucial moment of her plunge, she would finish him off. The hero slowly steps back, leaving the chambers. He activates the seal in front of the door with his foot. With a click, It activates and begins to glow gold. A bright beam pierces the night sky. A loud explosion sounds. The green-clothed girl notices that this sound was in the direction of the palace. The Empress opens her eyes. She asks what happened. The Empress stares at the golden beam at the bottom of the stairs in incomprehension. Zhang Liang shouts into the beam, bending his knees. A voice congratulates him on completing the task. The voice rewards an impenetrable heart and a pair of speed boots. The hero is bent forward and struggling to breathe. He clutched at his leg with his palm, and his body was covered in tongues of yellow energy. The Empress cleaves the air in front of her with her foot. She blushes and indignantly asks who it is. Zhang Liang drooled and blushed as he looked at her. The voice announces, "The divine body is 40% charged." Zhang Liang felt an infinite power creeping out from his body. The Empress kicks him with all her might, but the hero stops her with his forearm. The Empress is furious and bewildered, surprised that he took her mega punch with one hand. She's surprised. You can see someone's silhouette in the doorway. They are calling for their mistress. Zhang Liang is paler and looks back. Zhang bounces off the walls and punches through the roof in an attempt to escape. The Empress shouts for him to stop. The Empress is breathing heavily and covered in sweat and marvels at her body's reaction. She thinks about the fact that this intruder interrupted her dive. It won't be long before Taekwei and Shanin arrive. The Empress orders that the gates be closed as quickly as possible, for the intruder cannot be allowed to leave the Jade clan. The purple-robed girl approaches Taekui and asks how she is responsible for protecting the clan. Taekui replies that she made a mistake and did not expect that there would be traitors in the clan who would attack the palace at night. Lu Shunin crosses her arms over her chest and says that she feels that this is not a clan disciple. She says it still smells like a stinky man in here. The girls are shocked. Zhao Taechui turns pale and surprised. The girls unsuccessfully say they can't find the intruder, but say to keep looking for him. Zhang Lan tries his best to escape. The hero sees two shadows in an alley. The girls with swords in their hands say they hear someone running and tell them to check. Zhang Liang jumps through the open window of a neighboring building. The hero finds himself on the second floor in a room filled with steam. He does not realize where he is. He sneaks down the stairs and thinks this place is good for him. Zhang Liang suddenly stops. In front of him, the girls close their eyes. Each of the girls is sitting in a tank of water. The hero presses his hands to his mouth and thinks he is in a flower garden. Zhang Liang can no longer hold back. His nose is bleeding and he is blushing red. The girl in the background opens her eyes. She covers herself with her arms, spitting back into the tank and screams. The other girls notice him too. They shout that there is a man here, asking how he got here and who he is. There are screams coming from inside the bathhouse. Zhang Liang swings open the door and runs out of the bathhouse. The bath supplies flew after him. A girl in green clothes runs with a hammer towards the clan gate. She shouts that it can only be that stinking man, and to have Zhang Lan arrested or killed if he resists. Behind the trees, a wall of dust rises into the air. One of the girls notices it and asks what it is. The voice tells the hero that the divine body with the impenetrable heart is charged at 130% and that it is dangerous. Zhang thinks his body is about to explode. Zhao Taechui runs at the hero in a rage, bringing her hammer above her head. She screams at him that he is a pervert and will not escape her. The hero runs away from her. He is annoyed to think that he has been recognized. The disciples of the Black Dagger clan appear at the gate and come to deliver a letter. They ask what's going on here. The arrival's fingers light up with magic. The chief tells them to fell him first, then throw daggers at him. 3 daggers fly at Zhang Lan. He stops abruptly. He thinks it's time to run away. A vein of anger swelled on his forehead. Zhang Lan attacks them with a stream of golden energy. He shouts for them to stay out of his way. Zhang Lan is tied up in the main hall of the Jade clan. Someone calls him Rebel Zhang Lan. Zhao Taechui asks him in a rage if he knows what crime he committed tonight. Zhang Lan makes an innocent face and says he doesn't remember what happened and asks why he is here. Zhao Taechui asks him why he's playing dumb. She says he pretends to be a novice, though in practice his skills are excellent. She says, pointing her finger at him, that this is at least the 6th level of practical excellence. Lu Shunin asks if the 6th level is really the 6th level. She says it's impossible because Taechui is only at the peak of practical perfection. Taechui says she has witnesses and points to the 3 in head-to-toe casts. She asks if the man who serves as gate guard beat them up. One of the bandaged men replies that they don't remember. The girls ask if they were blown to smithereens. The girls say yes, otherwise the Black Dagger disciples would be worthless and maybe it wasn't them at all. Zhao Taechui interrogates if they really don't remember. Zhang Lan says that he seems to remember. He says he remembered that she was the one who beat them up and then blamed him. He says he had no idea she was so mean. Taechui interjects in surprise. The Black Dagger clan man says that he remembered that it was her, and 3 disciples of their Black Dagger clan were beaten by her. They think that if it was Zhao Taechui's hand. Lu Shunin asks the Empress who is to blame. The Empress replies that if anyone invades the clan, they deserve to die. A member of the Black Dagger clan says that they have been ordered to pass 6 orders. They are being kicked out of the Jade clan. They scream that she will regret it. Zhang Lan says confusedly that he will go back to the gate. Lu Shulin tells him to wait because she will check on him first. Lu Shulin says that Zhang Lan really doesn't have any strength, let alone practical perfection. Tachui is completely perplexed. Lu Shaolin says that Tachui is the only one who saw everything. She asks if she saw something. Tachui replies that Zhang Lan really did. Tachui jumps on Zhang Lan from behind in a rage and wraps her arms around his neck. She yells that she will beat him until he tells the truth. Tachui presses her breasts against his head. He thinks she's very strong. Zhang Lan realizes that this feeling is coming back again. The voice says the divine body begins to charge. Tachui starts beating Zhang, squeezing his head with his thighs. The voice announces that the divine body is 70% charged. The Empress rises from her throne and stops them. She offers to talk about it later. Tachui lets go of Zhang and begins to mumble. Zhang coughs and grabs his throat in an attempt to catch his breath. The voice says that the Lord will now receive the 2nd and 3rd assignment. Zhang sees a familiar silhouette in the deity's mind. The voice announces the 2nd and 3rd task must be completed in 72 hours and must reach the peak of Mount Wanman. The penalty for failure is death. Zhang asks what object the voice is referring to. He asks if it is a necklace or a bracelet. The silhouette holds out a pair of capron pantyhose to him. Zhang is excited by the idea. In the Empress's palace bedchamber, Lu Shulin turns to her and tells her that Tachui will definitely not lie, and there must be something wrong with Jianlan. The Empress replies that she should go downstairs because she wants to rest a bit. The girl agrees. The Empress thinks that the strength of the Jade clan is now declining. She recalls the heads of the other 5 clans. She thinks that although her clan is still in the top 6 clans, they are already casting their predatory glances. She shrinks from her thoughts. She recalls the day of ancestor worship. Bowing before the statue, she prayed, thinking that the disciples were infirm, so the improvement progressed very slowly. Zhang Lan then fell from the sky with a scream, greatly surprising her. Now she sits on her throne and thinks that his appearance was given to them by the spirits. For this man has a special strength and body, that he has never been perfected, but can explode with fierce power. In the guard room, Zhang Lan spread out the pantyhose and examines them. He whispers to himself that this is an idiotic system and this assignment is shameful. He whispers that this is utter hooliganism. He whispers, asking how he can do this as he's already going crazy. We see a hole in the wall behind him. An azure eye peers through the opening. Tachui yells that he's caught and breaks down the door. Zhang screams in surprise, hiding his pantyhose. Tachui asks what he just held in his hand. Zhang replies that it was nothing at all, sweating profusely. She rolls him to the ground and snatches his arm. She yells that she has been watching him through a hole in the wall for a long time. Zhang blushes and screams. Tachui frowns and looks at the pantyhose. She asks what the hell those are. Zhang blushes. He stares at her breasts and replies that it's a bandage. A voice announces that the divine body is beginning to charge. The charge level is 85%. Tachui hops off him, examining the pantyhose. She says that this bandage is very strange and elastic. Zhang thinks it was dangerous and he almost got fully charged. Zhang sweats and wonders if this charge is really building up. He decides that he needs to find a place to let off steam, or else it will happen sooner or later. Tachui says this thing is very suspicious and she takes it away. She puts the black tights in her pocket. Zhang starts to mumble in response. Tachui tells him that he's really good at pretending, and he's embarrassing her in front of the Empress. Zhang hits the wall and whispers that he really doesn't know what she's talking about. She throws a cloth over him, nailing him to the wall. She says it doesn't matter because he's going to die soon. Zhang begs for help from the cloth. Tachui says those who hurt her won't live 3 days. Zhang thinks this crazy woman is going to drag him to a deserted place and finish him off. He thinks he's a loser, because first the system tries to kill him, and then this crazy woman. The voice says he has completed the old mission. Zhang is puzzled. The reward is the ability to be invisible for 3 minutes. Tachui throws Zhang off of him. They are at the top of Wanman Mountain. Tachui unwraps the cloth and tells Zhang to see what the place that will be his graveyard looks like. Zhang digs a hole with an unknown board and asks Sister Tachui why take things seriously. He thinks she is close to the truth and asks how he should be. The charge isn't over yet and he doesn't know if he should talk to her. Tachui says only death awaits him and he has only 2 choices. Either she buries him here or she shatters him. She says he also has a 3rd way to demonstrate strength and tells him to hit her. Zhang tells her to turn her back to him. Tachui says he's trying to trick her. She says she won't fall for the trick. Tachui thinks it's really dangerous. She sees 2 monsters with guns. The monsters smash the rock she was sitting on. She manages to jump back. 3 arrows fly in her direction. Tachui dodges all the arrows in an elegant move, but 1 arrow grazes her arm. She summons her hammer with magic and wonders how many warriors from other clans can sneak in here. 2 attackers are waiting for her on the ground. They draw their weapons, preparing to attack. She hits the ground with her hammer, and a powerful pulse is released from the impact. She screams that they messed with the wrong one. She shouts that those who would throw arrows at her from behind will be taken to the Empress. She holds on to her bloody sleeve. She sighs. Infection is starting to spread from the wound. She falls on her knee and wonders if those arrows were poisoned, and that the poison is too strong. Jang looks out of the pit. The head of the hostile clan with the staff says he wanted to pass unnoticed, but will kill Techui first and avenge his dead sons. Techui says who would have thought it was the ringleader and asks if they came here to steal. The thug of the hostile clan leader asks what he should do with this boy and points to Zhang Lan. He replies that he is just a useless guard and should just be killed. The thug rushes at Jang. He shouts that they have misunderstood, that he is a simple woodcutter and doesn't know who the girl is. Techui hits the thug with a hammer and yells that she's their opponent. Techui yells to Zhang Lan that these people are their sworn enemies and now they are sneaking in with some kind of plan. She shouts that she will detain them and he should go back and report to the Empress. The ringleader points the staff forward. She says that if he relies on Techui, she will kill her first. A bright beam flies toward Techui. She stares forward, teeth clenched. In front of Techui, the dark beam bursts with golden energy without harming the girl. The ringleader is perplexed, looking at the result of the attack. Zhang says that she can only throw around words and that he can't leave Techui alone and run away, and realizes that he can't hold back any longer as his body turns divine. The system alerts that the remaining energy of the divine body is 80%. The impact only accounts for 5% of his body's energy. The ringleader yells for the thug not to stand idly by and finish him off. The thugs go on the attack. Zhang enters the fray, thinking that if anything, why doesn't the ringleader come down and accomplish this task? He thinks the ringleader is afraid. Zhang throws everyone off and yells for the ringleader to come to him himself. Techui turns redder and thinks she feels strange. Her heart beats faster. Zhang tells the ringleader to run away while he gives her a chance. The ringleader is puzzled. Zhang tells her to attack him with her strongest moves and promises not to dodge them. Techui says, has she really been told about this? Her eyes light up. The ringleader says he will do as he asked and begins to create a spell. Zhang thinks he can't risk too much and uses 30% of his energy on defense. The ringleader shouts for everyone to look at the power of her clan. She sends out a bolt of lightning. A beam of energy bursts out from the staff. Techui calls out in fear to Zhang Lan. Zhang Lan gritted his teeth and put his hands out in front of him. The ringleader's flow of energy tears down everything in its path. After his attack, remnants of energy hovering in the air, Zhang Lan stands unharmed. Zhang asks if this is the ringleader's strongest move. He thinks he is invincible and the ringleader is worthless, so Zhang is wasting so much energy. The ringleader says it can't be. She wonders if he really wasn't hurt, and where this guy came from. Zhang bounces back and fake screams. The leader is puzzled. Zhang shakes and says it was a sneaky hold and he missed it. Techui asks what's wrong with him. Zhang yells at Techui for them to run away. The ringleader yells for them to be caught. Zhang wonders if his strength will increase with time. The thug says to look more carefully, for they are both wounded and couldn't run far. Zhang whispers that he's lost his power, and Techui asks what they should do now. Zhang says there's a way to get his power back and asks if she brought her black tights with her. Techui says she did and pulls them out. She asks what she should do with them, whether to use them as wound dressings. He says no. He tells her to put them on. His nose is bleeding. Techui gently and slowly put on her pantyhose. Techui asks if this is really going to work. Zhang replies that there is no time to wait. Zhang asks how much more time she'll need, and if he can still make jokes about her, since the fate of all humanity is now in her hands. Techui puts on her tights and thinks they are very soft and silky. She is embarrassed by how she feels. She blushes and closes her eyes and tells herself to just put them on. Techui pulled on her pantyhose and let go of the elastic band. She thinks enthusiastically that the pantyhose are very tight, see-through and tight on her ass. She remarks on what a wonderful feeling it is. The system notifies that Zhang has completed the 3rd task and awards a charm capsule with a 1-hour duration and an evasion amulet that gives a 100% evasion effect against any attack for 20 minutes. Zhang turns back to Techui with a smile and hesitates. Techui, with a blush on her cheek, says she seems to be wearing one. Zhang is shocked at the sight of her. Jan's nose is bleeding. The system alerts him that the divine body is 105% charged and in danger. Zhang runs out of the cave and thinks he is very hot and his body is about to explode. Techui thinks he's so embarrassed and quick to run away that he seems like an honorable man. Zhang runs into some thugs. They say they found him and he's here. Zhang smiles and shouts that it was about time the superpower came to him. He concentrates the golden energy in his hands. It releases golden energy in the form of a huge beam. The ringleader sees the beam and shouts what power, and asks if the Empress has arrived. The thug asks the ringleader what they should do. The ringleader replies that the thugs should kill them. The ringleader runs away, thinking he doesn't want to die, and so he'd better get out of there while his goons scream that it's time to call upon the evil spirits. His goons run toward the target as the golden beam envelops them. The golden beam wounds everyone. All defeatedly drop their weapons and fall. Zhang slaps the ringleader on the back with a shout of, "Take that!" The ringleader yells. Tekwai yells for him not to kill the ringleader and leave him as a witness. Zhang lifts the ringleader off the ground, asking if he is still breathing. The ringleader screams in pain. Zhang asks why they came here and pulls back the enemy's collar. The ringleader gasps. Techui and Zhanglan stand over the bound ringleader. Techui says that the third and fourth sisters are guarding Linfeng Gorge. She asks how the enemy clan got here, if there are others besides them, and how many clans there are in total. The leader refuses to talk. The ringleader's gaze fixes on Techui's thighs, which are covered in capron tights. Techui punches him in the nose with her fist. She asks where he's staring. The nosebleed ringleader screams that they can torture him all they want, but the rebirth of his clan can't be stopped and the other clans will come after them. He begins to glow with purple energy and screams. Zhanglan runs away and drags a screaming Techui by his arm. He realizes that this is self-destruction and screams to run away. With the help of his boots, Zhang manages to escape with Techui in his arms. There is a huge explosion behind him. The smoke clears and it becomes apparent that the top of the mountain has been completely destroyed by the explosion. Techui says that the crazy guy really did self-destruct. Zhang realizes that there's a hole on his boot, and the speed boots turned out to be disposable. Zhang tells her to take off her pantyhose. Techui says that this is extremely obscene and that she is taking them for herself. The level of poison in her system was very low, and it only took her an hour for it to come out completely. Zhang thinks she's really stubborn, also covering his mouth, wondering if she can beat him, and he hopes it's not because they're stubborn. He thinks about the other clans because Zhao Techui didn't want to tell too much, and the system, but it's incomprehensible to him and clouds his head. Silhouette asks why she was summoned. Zhang asks if the system can tell him what he needs. Zhao says he needs to find out information about the other clans. The system says that the other clans are non-human races that exist in this world. There was a war, but the humans forced the alien clans out and locked them in 10 restricted zones. Zhang asks what level the 100% charge of his divine body is equal to. The system says the levels go from top to bottom. Spirit, initial, impenetrable heart, tempered character, ringleader, emperor, deity, lord, immortal. The current capacity of the divine body is 1,300 units, and the strength at 100% charge is equal to the ringleader. The system says that every time he completes a task, he gets points. At the moment, Zhang has 13 points, which can only be exchanged for books. Zhang says he doesn't want to change points for books, and he wants a subject that will make him stronger. Zhang clarifies whether any book can be bought. The system is puzzled. The charge level is 95%. Zhang thinks that with this book, he can keep his divine body at a constant level. Suddenly, Zhang notices something in the cream of his eye. He sees ninjas on the roof. He thinks they are good. Must be the Xuanjian clan. Opening the shutters, he wonders why these idiots always sneak in here in the middle of the night. The system says he's about to get his 4th assignment. Zhang's talking about the Empress. The time required is 3 hours. The task is to touch the Empress. The reward for completion is unknown, and for failure is death. In the level chart, Techui's level is on impenetrable heart. The ringleader is on tempered character, Zhang is on ringleader, and the levels of Empress and Lu Shunan are unknown. With a deft movement, the ninjas jump from the rooftops to the ground. Zhang jumps on the rooftops. He thinks the defense is too weak, and what does Zhao Techui do? Techui admires herself in the mirror in her pantyhose. She says she is very beautiful. 2 guards stand in the square in front of the Empress's bedchamber. The ninja whizzes behind the 2 guards and smacks them in the back of the head. At the same time, Zhang knocked down the guard of the bedchamber and sneaks around, thinking that the target is the Empress's palace. He knocks on the door and thinks that he, as a guard, needs to report to the Empress that someone has attacked them. After all, there is nothing wrong if he accidentally falls and touches the Empress during the report. He thinks he's a little genius because touching her doesn't count as sex. A while later, it was just time to think things over. Zhang is listening. He thinks it's suspiciously quiet. He bursts in and shouts that the guard of the Jade clan has arrived and asks who dares to enter here. The Empress is sleeping sweetly. He goes up to her and calls out to her. He thinks she doesn't look well and that she must have been poisoned or bewitched. Zhang turns around. Arrows are flying toward the Empress's bed. Zhang waves his hand and stops the arrows. They fall to the ground. The arrows of the alien clan turn out to be poisoned. Zhang thinks the arrows are not from the Xuanjian clan, but alien. The Empress opens her eyes and sighs languidly. Her face is covered with sweat and blush. She vaguely sees Zhang's silhouette, who says that the alien brutes are very brave. for they dared to infiltrate the Jade clan and make an assassination attempt on the Empress. Zhang thinks that if they were from the Xuanzhan clan, he wouldn't have dared to kill them yet. But since these puppies are from another world, there is no mercy for them. The Empress stands behind him. The Empress hugs him from the back. Zhang is completely shocked and embarrassed. The Empress closes her eyes and whispers if he's comfortable and for him to hug her tighter. Zhang's nose is bleeding. He wonders what happened to her and why her body is so hot. He tries to push the Empress away from him. The ninjas burst into her chambers and shout that there are only 2 of them, that the Empress is really unconscious, that she must be killed, and may the evil spirits help them, for the fate of the clan is in their hands. Zhang yells for the Empress to behave with dignity, because now is not the time. The Empress clings to his waist and asks why he won't. The system congratulates him and tells him he has completed the 4th task and receives a mysterious gift bag and offers to take a look. Zhang drags his feet away with the Empress in his arms. He shouts back that this is not the right time. Lu Shunan looks out the window and asks what those sounds are. A girl outside the window shouts that the Empress's bedchamber is under attack. Shannon flies to the bedchamber with the other girls and thinks she's used their Jade clan as a vegetable market again. The girls are struck by purple magic. They scream. All the girls fall to the ground unconscious except Lu Shoning. They land and realize that their clan has been infiltrated by outsiders who possess high-level magic, judging by the color of their aura. She understands that the purple color means the level of the Overlord, but if the Empress is healthy, it won't be difficult to deal with the attackers. Zhang kicks his foot through the wall with the Empress in his arms. He says she's very promiscuous now, and she responds by telling him to hold her tighter. A discharge of purple energy hits him, but he manages to bounce away with a shriek. Zhang's nose is bleeding. He notices who attacked him. The alien says that it's strange that there are men in the Jade clan and that Zhang almost interfered with their clan's affairs. Zhang replies not to worry because soon he will completely hinder his clan. Zhang thinks this guy is strong and not worth fighting. But the problem is that the neighborhood is still under the spell and he doesn't know what to do. Zhang opens the inventory and decides that those women outside can no longer be counted on and must find another way to escape. The Lord looks at him and doesn't understand why Zhang is waving, if it's some kind of spell. Jan pulls out a scroll from his inventory. He says he realized that he was the one who attacked the Jade clan. Zhang reveals a scroll over the Empress. He says that this is the same legendary translucent scroll. The Empress finds herself lying naked. Jan is surprised that the scroll is even translucent through her clothes. He's screaming for the system to get out of here. His nose is bleeding. The system says he has 3 minutes. Jan yells what kind of bullshit she keeps giving him. He yells that the artifacts in the reward are junk and asks if the system really bought this junk on street corners for 2 yuan. The system shakes with anger and asks for respect. Zhang yells that if she wants to help him, let her give him a gift to open, and he's even willing to get on his knees. The system throws him away and tells him it's useless. Jan is standing next to the Empress. A ball of purple energy flies at him. Jan grumbles that he is not being given time to open his gift. He stands in front of the ball of energy. He stops the purple ball with his hands and shouts. The system says the divine body charge has been reduced to 50%. Vladika says you can't breathe before you die. The system asks if Jan wants to use the gift now. Jan says to open it immediately. Violet energy is wrapped in a funnel of golden energy. The Lord is surprised that his sila has been absorbed. The system congratulates the owner on obtaining an ancient mystical weapon, the Guyun sword. This sword originally belonged to the human emperor Xuanyuan. The Lord shouts that he had read about it in ancient books and sword Guyun had indeed appeared in this world. Zhang asks who he called worthless and says he is completely worthy of him. He sends out a wave of golden energy and shouts that he is the protector of the Jade clan. The Overlord displays the seal and asks if the hero is still trying to harm him, given his cultivation base. A powerful stream of golden energy strikes and demolishes the Overlord. A stream of golden energy pierces the building completely. The flow destroys the purple aura of the Overlord. The girls run and scream. Lu Shunan shouts to find the Empress. The girls shout and run to carry out the order. The Empress is lying among the cobblestones. The girls shout at her. Shawneen says she's glad the Empress is okay, and that she was really worried. She screams for the remnants of the alien race to be wiped out. The girls shout back in agreement. The Empress says she almost went crazy when she was practicing and doesn't remember exactly what happened. She asks what happened to the palace. Shawneen asks if she doesn't know who defeated the alien race. The woman replies that she vaguely saw the man who saved her from the fatal blow. She wonders if it could have been him. She imagines Zhang's face. Zhang walks to his room and holds his lower back. He says that the power of this sword is too much and it feels like his body has been devastated. The next day, Shunan tells the Empress that the captives explained that she was saved by a mysterious man named Captain. They also said that Guyun, who had disappeared for thousands of years, was in his hands. The Empress asks why a Xuanyuan clan man appeared here and then disappeared without a trace. Shuning assumes it was Zhang Lang and asks if he should take him to the prisoners to check. The Empress refuses and says the man in hiding has his reasons. But she is concerned about how an alien of such a high level can bypass the defense line and infiltrate the clan. Shunin replies that the Xuanjian clan disciples they chased away a while ago have come to deliver a message that the aliens guarded by the other clans have changed and may be planning some kind of big strike. The Empress says she will go to Linfeng Gorge herself tomorrow because it's time for the aliens to test the power of the Jade Goddess clan again. Shunin agrees and says that he and Techui will each take 30 helpers to accompany them. The Empress says they don't need that many people and only the two of them can go with her. She says to bring Zhang Lan. At this time, the wind is blowing in Linfeng Gorge. In the flow of blue energy are 3 people. The girls bow their knee and greet the Empress. The green-haired 3rd disciple Ichi and the black-haired 4th disciple Qinglin bowed their heads. The Empress says to find a loophole, and Ichi agrees. Zhang vomits and Shunin tells him to stop. Zhang put on women's clothes with imitation breasts, turns around and says he's a little seasick and apologizes. The clan disciples are unaware that a man has joined them, but the Empress has asked him to accompany her, allowed her to wear women's clothes, and changed her voice. Zhang pales as he looks at Shunin and says he understood. Zhang wonders why the Empress brought him here. It's not like she could have known he broke in at night. Qinling asks to be introduced to the new girl. Shunin says that she is the Empress's new apprentice and has been brought in to gain experience. The Empress calls out to Shunin and she says she's coming. Qingling turns to Zhang Lan. Jan wonders why Shanin asked for him and ran away, since he will definitely be exposed. Sinlin grabs his arm in a sharp motion. She tells Zhang Lan that he is their little sister and she is his older sister Qingling. She offers to show him around since it's his first time here. Qingling pulls him along and tells him they have a good sisterhood. Zhang mumbles, not knowing what to say. Linfeng Gorge is their clan's defense against aliens in the middle of the Lanman Mountains, and only the middle canyon, which is no more than 100 meters wide, can be traversed. Zhang asks how the power level is distributed within the alien races. Qingling replies that she's the best when it comes to alien races, and Zhang asks the right person. In the alien race, the dominant one is the High Priest, the Spellmaster, and the ranks are differentiated by color from strong to weak go, red robes, yellow, white, blue, purple robes, and regular priests. Below the priests are the regular aliens, who are good at physical skills and riding beasts, but their combat power is not particularly outstanding. The desert is home to ferocious beasts. They are numerous and extreme vigilance and caution is needed with them. Zhang realizes that priests have a hierarchy, and now it's no wonder that the strength of the high priest he encountered on the mountain was so different from the priest who attacked the palace. Qingling says that Zhang Lan will like it here, and he asks what's inside that big tent. Qingling suggests a good bath, for the apprentice is tired from the road, and Linfeng Gorge is famous for its hot springs. Zhang mumbles embarrassedly that she's not tired and still has plenty of energy. Qinglin undresses and invites Zhang Lan to wash up while they chat. Zhang Lan says he hears the Empress calling him. Qingling says no one is calling for her and rolls over onto Zhang Lan's back. She leans over him and asks if he doesn't want to wash with her. Zhang wonders if she has found out who he is, or if there is another reason for this behavior. Qingling asks if it hurt, but Zhang really likes her older sister a lot. Zhang realizes that she is a lesbian. The system gives him task number 5 to enter. In 3 days you have to make Qingling heterosexual. The reward is unknown, and the punishment is to be crushed by 5 strong men. He thinks he needs to stop her and tells his older sister to wait a minute because she has to confess one thing first. Qingling asks if Big Sister isn't pretty enough after all. Her figure is one of the best in the Jade Goddess clan. Zhang closes his eyes and thinks he can't tell her that he's a man disguised as a woman. Qingling says that Zhang said she wasn't interested, but as soon as he saw her body, he got a nosebleed. Zhang thinks he's finished. Qingling offers to help Zhang undress. He replies that he will do it himself. Sinlin is surprised and says something is wrong with his voice. Zhang runs away from the bathhouse and thinks the voice-altering spell is no longer working. A cloth wraps around his neck and he falls on his back, panting. The cloth pulls him into one of the tubs upside down. Qingling is standing without clothes. She says he won't be able to sleep unless he takes a bath. Zhang surfaces out of the water, inhaling. Qingling pulls him by the collar of his clothes. Zhang wants her not to touch him, and Qingling says that Big Sister will help him undress. Qingling is shocked. She noticed something unusual. She holds the melon that fell out of Zhang Lan's clothes in her hand. He thinks it's definitely over now. Qingling crushes the melon in her hand. She says she now understands why he refused to bathe with her. She cries in frustration, and yells that it's not Jan's fault that he has small breasts and tells him not to be embarrassed. Zhang realizes that she has a knack for interesting conclusions. Qinlin hugs him and tells him that from now on, no one will be able to make fun of him because she will now protect him. Zhang blushes and thinks he is at the pinnacle of life. Sinlin raises an eyebrow and notices something down below. She pulls him away from her and looks at the lower part of his body. She is furious and asks what it is. Jong builds an innocent look and says he wanted to explain it earlier. Pink magic bursts out of the roof of the bathtub. Girls in the neighborhood ask what it is. The Empress, Shunin, and Ichi turn around at the explosion. Ichi asks that it was Sinlin's energy. She might be in danger. A pink pillar of magic is visible from the gorge. Shunin says he can't sense any other magic but Qingling and asks what could have happened. Shanin realizes that the voice-altering spell has run out. She curses out loud. Jong runs from the pink magic and screams for help. Magic strikes behind him, knocking him to the ground. The girls scream that a man has infiltrated the camp. Jong rolls a cartwheel into the wall. The current charge of the divine body is 120%. Jong realizes that he cannot harm this woman. Kinlan swings his staff at him and yells for him to die. Shunin puts up a barrier and yells for Sinlin to stop. Sinlin yells that the man tricked Shannon. Shunin says she knows, but he can't be killed, and Qingling doesn't understand why. Kinla says irritably that he is a servant taken by the Empress to guard the mountain gate. Qingling is shocked. She screams that there is no place for a man in the Jade Goddess's Kana and who let him guard the mountain gate. Shonen whispers to her that the Empress has her own plans for him and to stop acting like this. Qingling says she won't kill him. Qingling yells that she will cut him a little as punishment. Jong yells that this is savage. Qingling chases after Jong, yelling for him to stop, and he begs for mercy. Shunin turns to the Empress, who says that Qingling is aware and will not harm his life, and that Jianlan has not followed the rules and it's time to teach him a lesson. The Empress tells Ichi to show her again the distribution of the alien camps. Ichi agrees. Jang hides and looks at his inventory. He whispers that Qingling is crazy and decides how to calm her down. He screams and jumps up just in time as a volley of magic hits the wall directly below him. Sinlin yells that she hates men more than anything, and that he dare not run away from her, because he will definitely get his punishment. He yells for her to stop. He brings the capsule up to his mouth and thinks he should try it. He begins to glow from within and dazzles Qingling with the brightness. She covers herself with her hand and wonders what trick he's trying to pull. Jiang becomes very attractive in her eyes and asks how things are going. Qingling doesn't understand why she feels so strange at the sight of him. Cupid's arrow in her chest. Qinlin shakes her head and orders herself to wake up from the obsession. She looks at him furiously and tells him he will pay for it. He approaches her and touches her face. He asks what price he will have to pay. She only blushes and mumbles. She closes her mouth and thinks something is wrong because she's very excited. John grabs her from the back and asks why she's in a hurry to leave. He asks if she doesn't dare meet his gaze. Okay bites her lip and blushes. She tells him to leave and that she can't take it anymore. Janlan's charm has increased by 300%, but he doesn't know what to do next. He thinks about what to do. Kiss hard, hug hard, go lower, and wishes someone would tell him what to do. His palm gently touches her side. Qinlin suddenly cries out. Jan is at a complete loss. Her body shakes with a shudder and her legs jerk up. Jan doesn't understand why she has such a strong reaction. After all, he just touched her waist. She looks down at him insulted. Sinlin licks her finger and says she'd like to see what's so good about it. She pounces on top of him, unfurls her fist and screams that he dares to provoke her and should be ready for her to squeeze the juices out of him. Jan thinks she is completely out of control and is afraid she will break his body. He doesn't understand why the assignment didn't count. Sinlin yells for him to take off his clothes and clings to the waistband of his pants. Zhang thinks doomfully that he tried his best. His nose is bleeding. Suddenly silence hangs, Qinlin stiffens, and Jan doesn't realize what happened. Qingling is furious and asks what he did to her. Jan wept and wondered why the pill had stopped working just now. Qinling brings her staff over him and yells that she will chop him to pieces. Jiang asks where she is swinging it and locks her knees together. A magical seal appears around her knees. 2 seals appear around her hull. He starts to fly upward, not realizing what's happening. Shunin was the one who created the seals. Qingling yells for her sister to let her go, because she has to be late for his lesson. Shunin says that he did change Sinlin's orientation. Ichi says that Qinlin was insulted and asks why she is saving this man. Shunin replies that if Qinlin changes her orientation, the female members of the clan will be able to serve in peace and not have to worry about being harassed by Qinlin. She says that Jiang is very helpful. Jiang always feels if he is praised. The next day it's early morning in camp. Jan leaves the tent and stretches. He says it's a good morning. Jan notices that during the night the energy reached 120% but was not released. And after sleeping, not only did his body not explode, but the charge dropped to 100%. Jiang looks around. Behind him, a female silhouette sits on the cliff. It turns out to be Sinlin. She clutches the cobblestone in her hand, turning it into crumbs. Jan says he's going back to the tent. He thinks he mustn't fall into her hands or he'll be in trouble. A woman's hand reaches for him from behind. Shunin and she grabs him by the scruff of the neck and orders him not to move. Zhang shouts in surprise. Shunin and Jiang are flying on her sword. He asks where they are going. She answers that he shouldn't ask about anything he doesn't want to know about. Shunin says he doesn't know what Zhang did to Qingling, but if he was able to change her orientation, that would be a huge accomplishment. Zhang wonders if they want to change her orientation too. Shonen says that Qingling has a strong temperament, and if she goes on a rampage, even she won't be able to stop her. And if he finds himself in danger, he can go directly to the Empress. The Empress flies beside them. She looks ahead of her. Jan thinks that he should admit that there are many beauties in the Jade Goddess clan, but the most beautiful one is the Empress. He looks at the Empress with a blush on his cheeks. The system gives you a new task to enter. The time requirement is 1 day. The goal of the task is Empress Xuanyao must wear the JK uniform. The punishment is 10,000 arrows to the heart. Jan pales in response to the task. He gawks and starts to sweat. It's morning over the alien citadel. The rough-skinned aliens carry sacks on their shoulders, and their foreman whips them with a whip. The aliens look up into the sky, and the Empress screams that the alien bugs dared to leave the Forbidden Land without permission and disturb the peace. She screams that her Jade Goddess clan's army has gone on a campaign today, trying to avenge it. The girls of the clan begin to use their magic. Magic begins to strike the ground beneath the girls. The aliens scatter in terror. Qingling shouts with a cruel smile for the stinking men to go to hell. She attacks with her red energy. Jan looks at her and thinks this woman really scares him. Shawneen says that the largest center of the alien race on the front lines has been destroyed by them, and it's definitely beyond the aliens' imagination, and they'll settle down for a while. Jan thinks that the aliens could have predicted this, that they would come here, right? Jan asks if it's possible that this place is a trap. Shawneen frowns and interjects. She says that Zhanglan reminded her that the alien race attacking the clan couldn't help but expect a retaliatory strike, and had to take defensive measures, but allowed them to attack, which means something is wrong here. Qingling says that sister is too trusting and everything Zhang says is a lie. Shunin says she's just being cautious, and so they'd better back off first before thinking about a long-term plan. Kinlan suddenly flies into an attack and yells that whether it's a trap or not, they'll find out after they activate it. She screams at smelly men to die and go to hell and hits them with her energy. Zhang pales and thinks that this woman has a lot of personal attitude in this situation. Sinlin throws the alien at the bags in the room. She says it feels like the bags don't contain food, but sand. The alien's horn pierces the bag and sand is in it. Sinlin is furious. Shawneen asks where the sandstorm could have come from. Jan turns her attention upward and says there's an even bigger problem above them. Fireballs fall on them from above. Sinlin appears from the building and says that if the food has been moved, they may be in danger. She notices a sandstorm outside. She finds herself in a sandy stream and screams, trying to bury herself with her hands. The Empress and the girls create a protective spell over them. She orders them not to retreat, to form up and hold their defenses. Shawneen shouts that they had better leave the area of attack first, and the Empress replies that it's useless, as they will only suffer more casualties. She asks where Zhanglan is, and Shunin notices that he's gone somewhere and hopes he's not hurt. 10% of the energy has been used for flight. Jan flies and thinks he told them to retreat a long time ago, but they decided to stay, and now he has to sort out the chaos. He notes that the aliens first used a normal-sized meteor, then used a sandstorm to limit visibility and discreetly dropped the meteor. Jan concentrates the energy in his fist and says that the one thing they didn't account for was his existence. Energy output 90%. Jan smashes the meteor into small cobblestones in midair. He hangs awkwardly in the air. He falls backwards. Zhang yells that he used all his energy on that punch. Suddenly a woman's hands interrupt his fall. Jan notices it. The Empress holds him in her arms and asks if he was the body that destroyed the huge fire meteor. Jan is at a complete loss. He looks away and doesn't know what to say. The system turns on fast charging. Shunin goes down to the Empress and tells her that Qinling is missing and must be found, as she may have been kidnapped, and that she has just received a signal for help from the camp. The Empress replies that if they go back to the camp, they will not save Qinling. Shunin replies that he will stay and save her, and they should head back. Zhang says the aliens are well prepared, and it's wise to send someone they've only known for a short time. The Empress likes the idea. The Empress calls Janlan to come with her. Jan smiles. The Empress says it's hard to hide power like Zhang's from her, and he's the one who saved her in the bedchamber that night. The Empress says that he is stronger than Shunin, and she can be sure that he will save Qingling. She realizes that it was definitely him who saved her back then. Zhang falls backwards. The Empress excitedly asks what's wrong with him. Jan says his punch drained his energy and he has no strength. The Empress asks how much time he will need. Jan says he is doing special exercises and will need her help. He pulls out his school uniform and asks the Empress to put it on, and then he can recover in a second in any situation. The Empress notices that the uniform is made of an unfamiliar material and asks what kind. Jan replies that it doesn't matter and asks her to just put it on. The Empress is outraged and asks how cross-dressing can restore his powers and if he thinks she's an idiot. Jan says that he is not lying, that there is magic power hidden in the clothes, and that in time she will be convinced of his words herself. The Empress knows that all she has to do is change her clothes, and she's not risking anything. The Empress agreed to trust him and would let him know when she was done. Jan turned away and agreed. The Empress begins to undress while Zhang stands with his back to her. The Empress has changed clothes and asks why the clothes are so tight and short. Jan replies that it is a property of magical clothing. She lets him turn around. Jan agrees with a wide smile. The Empress says these clothes are very strange. Jan Lan covers her groin from the resulting excitement. The sixth task is complete. Jan is surrounded by golden energy. The Empress agrees that this power is very powerful and that he was telling her the truth. There's a crazy renewal going on. A golden ray is hitting the sky. A professional crazy heart was installed. The capacity of the divine body was increased to 2,000 units. Jan says to trust him to save Qingling. At this time in the alien cave, Xinlin weighs down, suspended by his waist. Jan found her with a locator he'd bought for system points. The female locator was worth 4 points, the remaining points 16. The alien says that this woman has killed countless of his children, and he can finally get revenge. The alien says that when she wakes up, he'll let his underlings take turns raping her and then dump her in the desert to feed the wolves. The other alien says they have been given a unique opportunity and shouldn't waste it on simple revenge. The first alien is not happy with his words. His subordinate says that they are ready to carry out any plan of their lord. The Jade Goddess Temple prevented them from crossing the gorge, but not because of their strength, but because of the Spirit Guardian core in the gorge. The alien in the cloak says they tried to destroy the core, but failed. The alien says they will have a chance to destroy it while Xinlin's mind is under a control spell. He tells them to let her go back and destroy the core herself. The aliens are enthusiastic about his idea. They consider themselves more cunning and devious than the human race, and are surprised that it hasn't been invented before. Jan thinks their trick might succeed, that he now realizes who is in charge of the alien race. The aliens decide to create and cast a control spell together. The spell begins to take effect on Qinlin, causing her to shriek loudly. Jan decides that this spell is very costly and requires concentration, and so now is the perfect moment to strike. There's a massive explosion. All the aliens are in shock. The cobblestones start falling down. The aliens panic and scream and don't realize what's going on. Has the Empress come? One of the aliens notices that Xinlin has disappeared. The alien says she was injured and couldn't recover in 3 hours, that someone took her. The aliens decide to block all exits and search for him. John escapes with the help of magic and with Qingling on his back. She says she doesn't want him to be the one to save her. He replies that she has no choice who saves her. Suddenly, a worm-like monster appears in front of them. Zhang stops abruptly, cursing. He yells for the one to go to hell and attacks him with his energy. Zhang looks at his fist in shock. A stone chip falls on him. He falls down and screams that this mountain is too fragile. In the dungeon, the ringing silence drew frightening images in his mind. Suddenly the ceiling collapses and Jan falls there, hitting the floor. On top of him, Xinlin falls on top of him with a scream. She lands right on his head. She gets up and says it hurts. She rubs her ass and says it hurts. She asks Jan why his nose is bleeding. He thinks he's fine. It comes from upstairs that they fell here and for someone to go and report to the high priest. Qingling says it's not good that they've already been discovered. Zhang grabs her hand and starts to run away. He says that there are many passages in this cave, so it will be hard to find them. Zhang asks where the light is coming from and why the cave is bright and green, but it looks creepy. Qingling asks if they can find a way out. Zhang peeks around the corner and exclaims in surprise. It turns out to be the resting place of the ancestors of an alien race. Jian realizes that they have fallen into someone's ancestral grave. Arriving at the secret mission location, Swanti and Dandian's reward, a brain upload is performed. Qingling says it's time for them to move on. The upload is complete. Zhang clutches his head in pain. Qingling asks what happened. Zhang says it's okay. The system put so many things in his head that he almost went crazy. Zhang asks with a smirk if she has a crush on him if she cares so much. Qingling says he's talking nonsense. She turns around, walks away, and says that the male mind is too primitive and that she's going to ignore him from now on. She looks back, not noticing Zhang. Qingling asks why he isn't leaving. Zhang says he knows why the cave is glowing green and looks at the bone. He says that these remains are medicinal materials and are called soul bones. The light in the cave is the spiritual energy that their owners have accumulated during their lives. From the tunnel come the alien voices that the fugitives have been found. Xinlin realizes that they have been caught up. They stop at the entrance to the cave and tell Zhang and Qingling to get out, for it's not enough to kill them for breaking into their ancestors' tomb. Zhang Lan tells them to be careful, because this place is reminded of spiritual energy, and if he uses the fireball spell, it will have dire consequences. The alien shouts that they can negotiate. Another alien whispers for them to prepare to attack with ranged spells. Zhang smiles and asks what Qingling thinks of his plan, since the fireball will solve all problems. Qingling is shaking with fear. Suddenly, a fireball begins to fall from Zhanglan's hands. The aliens are screaming in despair. Zhang catches the fireball before it makes contact with the bones. Zhang says he's just kidding. The aliens laugh in relief. The alien notices the fireball rolling away from his palm again. A vapor protrudes on the ringleader's face as he watches Zhanglan's games. Qingling asks if he was joking this time too. Zhang shouts that he wasn't. Zhang tells the system to remove all the dice in the inventory. The system says to activate through a subscription. Zhang agrees. All the ancestral bones are swirled into his inventory. Jan sighs with relief, for nothing was destroyed and every last bone in his inventory. Zhang proudly announces that there is nothing to worry about now. The aliens don't know what to say. Zhang yells while running away and grabs Qingling. The aliens chase after them. He yells that they need to run into the tunnel. The alien creates a black spell and aims it at them, trying to stop them. Qingling yells at him not to fight him. Zhang focuses his energy and prepares to counterattack. There is a massive explosion of gold and black energy in the tunnel. Zhang is pierced by the alien's energy. The passageway collapses, closing the tunnel. Small pebbles fall after a landslide. The alien is angry. The blue alien says they have entered a cave from which there is no way out, and the curse will torture him to death. Zhang says that the curse pierced through him and caused him a lot of pain. Qingling says that the white priest's magic attack is very strong, and there is no defense against it, but Zhang looks fine. Zhang says it's a dead end and they need to trash the rubble and get out, but first he needs to figure out how to contain the curse. Zhang asks how her body's recovery is going. Sinlin blushes and says she's fine. Zhang blushes and asks if she's okay. Sinlin looks at him and says, just thinking about it. The alien yells that this rubble is basalt rock, so it's worse subject to their magic, so they have to put all their strength into it. The alien says that today he wants these fugitives to bleed through every orifice. Qingling clutched at Zhanglan's leg. He says that this is not the time for that. Zhang thinks the aliens are outside, and so they need to figure out how to get out of here sooner rather than later. Qingling tells him not to leave. Suddenly an idea hits him, for he can use the soul bones to clear the passage. Sinlin says he can't escape her and pushes him to the ground. Qingling asks her for help because she feels awkward. Jan clenched his teeth. She draws his palm to her waist. She clenches her breasts between her hands and licks herself. Zhang realizes that this is her erogenous spot, and she herself took the initiative to have him touch it. She leans into his face and whispers his name. Jan throws a screaming punch. He slapped her neck and she passed out. Jan sighs with relief and says that he could hardly restrain himself. He thinks that real men shouldn't take advantage of a woman's weakness, and apologizes to her for what he did. The current charge is 180%. You must release the energy immediately. He took out 1% soul bones from his inventory. With his magic, he engages the bones. The alien listens and says he can't hear any movement and wonder if they could have died. He asks if they can clear the rubble, go in and watch. The stones of the rubble begin to glow. Suddenly there is an explosion. The alien is slammed against the rocks. The blue alien screams that they're out and it's time to attack. Wuzhang comes out in Qingling's arms and asks why they are attacking them with curses if they won't break through the ancestral bones' defenses. The alien screams that it's impossible to reflect from the attack. Jan says it took less than 30% of his energy to create armor sets for him and Qinlin, and he's the one still holding back. He says he's going to have to create a bigger problem now because he needs to let out some extra energy. Golden energy bursts out of the alien ancestral mountain, destroying it. Qingling asks if she passed out. Zhanglan flies with her in his arms and says that she was under the influence of a rousing spell and forced him to take action. Luckily, he created 2 sets of armor, and with the help of the ancestral bones, they defended themselves and then escaped. Sinlin understands that alien spells can confuse the minds of humans, but she had never heard of spells with such an effect. She doesn't understand why she wanted to seduce him. Jan is consumed with thoughts. In front of the canyon lie the defeated aliens. Shunan says they've been gone too long. The Empress replies that Zhanglan will succeed, and the alien race retreated quickly because they were ordered to retreat. And the reason was most likely Zhanglan. Suddenly something falls to the ground, drawing everyone's attention. Zhang and Qingling are lying on the ground. He moans that his lower back hurts, and she screams for him not to touch her. The Empress asks if he survived the alien spells. John eats and replies that the aliens were shocked that they couldn't hurt him, that he killed some priests in purple robes and escaped. Shawneen replies that the Spirit Guard Corps is not known to ordinary mortals, that they must investigate thoroughly and find the traitor. Jan lies inside the tent and realizes that the aliens have decided to target the Empress for a reason. But the Empress's time of service is classified. He heard a man's voice, but the man could change his voice. Jan smells a familiar scent. He thinks the scent doesn't affect him, but he wants to see who it's coming from. A silhouette appears in the entrance to the tent. Qingling walks into the tent and heads towards him. Jan wonders if it's her. She looms over him. and he's afraid she's going to punish him again. She throws her leg over him. Jung doesn't realize what she's doing. She sits on top of him and presses his hands to her waist. She bites her lip and thinks she really likes the feeling. She puts her head on his chest and doesn't understand why she's doing this to a dirty man. Jan looks at her and realizes this is the second time this has happened, but this time she's in her clear mind to let him touch her. She lies on top of him and asks if she likes him. Jan replies in thought that it's obvious. The 5th login task is completed, and the reward is a one-hit kill glove that can be used 3 times. Sinlin decides that while he sleeps, she can get a good look at his big treasure. Jan tenses up and thinks she can't handle this venture and she'd better put her curiosity aside. She starts pulling his pants down. Someone shouts that an enemy attack is beginning and the aliens are closing in. Sinlin frowns. Outside the camp, the alien holds a white flag and shouts that he is with peaceful intentions and wants to see the Empress. The Empress, Ichi, and Shawneen stand on the dais, the latter asking if the aliens want to beg for mercy. The Empress says they were scared by Zhanglan. She says to bring the alien to the camp and call Zhanglan. In the main hall, Sinlin yells how dare they come to their camp and do they want to destroy the Spirit Guardian core. The alien shouts that it's just a misunderstanding. The alien begs to be spared, giving them 30 carloads of blue crystals, which he asks the Empress to accept. Blue crystal is a very rare ore, and the Jade Goddess clan only has a few kilograms of this ore. The aliens sent a generous gift. Jianlan says the alien thinks they are so poor that they will accept this piece of trash as a gift of reconciliation. Kinlan blushes and thinks that after her scent, he should have slept through tomorrow and realizes that he didn't sleep at all. Zhanglan asks how the alien team attacked the Empress and how they got through Linfeng. Shunan agrees that these questions are more important than the blue crystals she was fascinated by. She thinks that Zhanglan is very reserved. The alien says that the man's name was Min, and it was he who led them to find a secret road 50 kilometers west of Linfeng Gorge. Zhang concentrates the energy and asks where he is now, and if he is definitely male. The alien cries and says that he disappeared and he was definitely male. Zhang realizes that the possibility of a traitor being in the Jade Goddess clan can be eliminated. But who could it be? Shunan says that Zhanglan is really talented, as he demanded 10 more carriages of blue crystals. The Empress says to give them a proper reward so that they can return to the clan afterward. Shunan says that Zhanglan changed Qingling's orientation and how she looked at him like she wanted to not kill at all. The Empress turns around and casts a sizzling glare in her direction. Shawneen doesn't realize if she said something wrong. At this time in the training room, Zhang ponders whether these crystals can really help in cultivation. After all, he just decided to lure out 10 more carts for nothing, and they were so happy that they were at a loss for words. He doesn't understand them. Entry task number 7. Make the next person who enters the hall wear the old uniform. Time requirement is 3 days. Punishment is death by lightning. Someone is coming into the hall. Jan is anticipating who it will be. Ichi enters the hall. John is surprised to see her. He decides it would be the easiest thing to do, since she can't see anything, and he just needs to come up with a reason for her to wear what he wants. She sits down across from him and begins to undress. His nose starts to bleed. He realizes that he shouldn't let her know that he's in the audience too. He thinks he's finished, because he wasn't expecting this at all. Zhang decides to quietly leave the hall before she notices him. Ichi removes the blindfold from his eyes, but catches a rustle. She clutches her clothes and shoots energy in the direction of the noise. Zhang manages to jump up in shock. Zhang thinks this girl is very fierce and he can't even move. He decides that by all means she must not realize that he is here. Ichi continues to remove the bandage, thinking she's imagining things. Zhang's nose is bleeding. Ichi's eyes are a beautiful blue color, but she is completely blind. Zhang thinks it's a pity that she is really blind, even though she has such beautiful eyes. The Empress walks in and asks Ichi to step outside for a bit. Ichi covers himself in surprise. Ichi obeys and gets dressed. Zhang sits with his back turned to the wall, praying not to be seen. He sneaks toward the exit and the Empress heads toward him. The Empress says that despite her first impression, Ichi cultivates a unity of sword and heart, a sword that dominates the world. She says not to provoke her. She sits down on the bench and invites him to sit next to her because she needs to get his opinion. Zhang likes the idea very much. The Empress tells them that their clan is one of 6 and often oppressed by the other clans. There's a conference in 3 days, and it is a great opportunity to assess the strength of each clan. The Empress says that right now all of their clan's top female students are busy, and only Ichi and Tachui will be able to participate. She's afraid they'll fall off the list of the 6 clans. Zhang asks if it's unnecessary to put all the best students on guard and if he should take someone with him. The Empress refuses him. She says the conference has been rescheduled and she can't wait for the older student to finish her work. The top of Lingyun Temple where the 6 clans will gather. It is announced that the Jade Goddess clan's Empress Jun Xuanyao has arrived as well. The disciples accompanying her are Yichi, Zhanglan, and Zhao Techui. The Empress is called to join the clans already present. A smiling woman shows them where they will sit. Techui is surprised by something. Techui asks indignantly if they are going to be forced to sit in a corner, and at a broken table at that. Zhonglan stops her and says that he heard that the Lingyun clan's finances are limited, and they have difficulties with this, so they shouldn't be scolded too much for this. Zhang hugs Techui and says that they luckily brought their own table and chairs with them, so they can sit down. Zhang pulls back a chair for the Empress and invites her to sit down. The clansmen present realized that they themselves had embarrassed themselves by trying to shame the Jade Goddess clan. A youngster from another clan yells that they shouldn't be sitting there, but the ringleader tells him it's fine and not to pay attention. The ringleader says it doesn't matter how happy they are today, because tomorrow the real show starts. Two silhouettes stand on the arts field. A voice announces that the Martial Arts Improvement Conference of the 6 clans has begun. In the first round, Lin Qingyun will speak from the Wanxiangzong clan, and Yiqi will speak from the Jade Goddess clan. The head of the alien clan says that if they can't place the best students, they should have refrained from participating because they will still lose. The judge says that the winner automatically advances to the next round, which will not end until all 3 students of the same clan have been defeated. It is forbidden to kill or maim. Zhang says it's not fair to fight against someone wearing armor. Techui says they practice cruel and unusual foreign kung fu. Ichi concentrates on hearing before attacking. Techui said the opponents are usually determined by lot, but they fight the Wanxiangzong clan every year. Ling Qingyun dodges Ichi's attack, and those rays that hit him simply bounce off his armor. Zhang is surprised that even such ferocious sword magic can't penetrate his armor. Techui says that this armor is made of a special ore. Ling Qingyun attacks Ichi, but she bounces back. She attacks him with her energy. Her beams hit one point on his armor and crumple it. Techui says it's any armor that can be broken if you hit the same spot accurately. Ichi feels dizzy and grits his teeth. Techui yells that the sons of bitches are using the vertigo stones to disarm Ichi. The opponent strikes Ichi. She manages to recoil but loses her balance. Techui and Jianlan run up to the fallen Ichi. The judge says it's a clean victory for the Wanxiangzong clan. Ling Qingyun asks who will be next. Techui runs towards him with his hammer swinging. The referee announces that round 2 has begun. Ling Qingyun dodges her blows and says that with such skills, they don't belong among the 6 clans and that he is ashamed of her skills. Techui swings his hammer at him and yells at him to shut up. She throws a punch, but he stops it with his fist. His armored fist blowing cracks to Techui's hammer. The hammer falls apart and she flies away from the impact. Ichi is calling for Techui. She and Zhang are worried. The judge says their clan has lost twice and do they want to continue the battle. Ichi hesitates and holds an unconscious Techui in his arms. Zhanglan says to take Techui downstairs and rest, and leave everything to him. Ichi agrees. The clan head Wanxiangzong laughs and advises them to refrain and save his clan from further disgrace, for his one disciple had defeated almost everyone. Ling Qingyun tells Zhanglang not to even think that he can win with ingenuity like yesterday. He tells him to bow down and get out of here while his bones are still intact. Zhang puts on his gloves and says his speeches are amusing, asking if he added a strengthening talisman to his hands. Ling Qingyun yells for Zhang to shut up and runs to attack. The clan head shouts for him not to finish him off too quickly and save the Jade Goddess clan from at least some of the ridicule. Zhang punches him once and sends him into a knockout. He says you shouldn't brag until you win. The head of the alien clan is in complete shock at the turn of events. The audience was surprised that Lin Qingyun couldn't fight back against the girl, and the Jade Goddess Temple has such a brutal fighting technique. Zhang is glad he put him down with one punch. 2 uses of the gloves remain. The clan head Wanxiangzong shouts that Lin Qingyun has relaxed after winning and sends Qinfu away. Qinfu bursts into battle and uses the invincible hot wheel technique. He concentrates power in his legs and arms, and combined with his speed, this makes him a deadly weapon. He once killed a huge number of enemies with this technique. Zhanglan punches away, sending him crashing to the ground and praising him for a good attempt. The Empress apologizes for her apprentice being so bloodthirsty. Siluo is sent into the ring. Siluo recognizes Zhanglan's strength, but feels sorry for her because he will fight him now. Siluo is called the Invincible Golden Boy because of his kung fu technique of the same name, and not even the clan leader can defeat him. Siluo launches an attack, and the clan leader rejoices that because of Siluo, the Wanxiangzong clan is invincible. Zhanglan punches it and asks if such a technique exists. Siluo snorts, and his clan leader yells that any attacks against him are useless. Siluo suffers a crushing defeat. Zhang asks if he won, and the referee confirms it in awe. The Jade Goddess clan won the first battle. The clan leader fainted. In the second battle, the victors will face the Xuanjian clan. Zhang sighs and says he doesn't understand how girls with large breasts live. He took out 2 round watermelons from his pocket. A woman's leg in mesh tights appears in the doorway, a voice calling out to Zhanglan. Tejuo smiles and asks what he thinks of her improved tights. Zhanglan praises her choice with a blush and a thumbs up. The energy around him feels familiar to him. Techui looks away and thanks him for his hard work today, as they got closer to victory. She says he deserves to take as long a vacation as he wants. But there's no sign of Zhang Lan. Within the Lingyun clan's territory, the Empress had another seizure. It would be embarrassing if they found out, so Zhang Lan decides to do something. The Empress yells for him to hold her tighter. Jan doesn't know what she wants. He lets her do whatever she wants. Zhang asks if his body neutralizes pain. The power of the Jade Goddess is so powerful that it can destroy his body or impair his skills. Zhang wants to help her once and for all. The divine body contains a lot of yang and the Jade Goddess has a lot of yin, and if damage needs to be healed, there is only one way. They would have to do double cultivation. The system asks if Zhang Lan is ready. Only dual cultivation can save the Empress from death. Zhang decides to do as the system advises. She says she can help him figure out how and what to do. He begins to saturate the Empress with his energy. He believes that a real man will not take advantage of women. He decides to repair the gold core since it is the most damaged. The system warns that if he chooses to repair the core, his powers will be depleted. After exhaustion, the divine body recovers for 12 hours, and during that time, he would be unable to do anything. The system reminds him that he needs to compete tomorrow. The Empress is surprised she's still alive. Her damaged core has recovered, and she suspects that Zhang Lan did it. The price of energy depletion is kidney pain, which angers Zhang Lan. The system says it's for him for not taking advantage of the situation. Zhang doesn't understand what she didn't like, and asks why she's so bothered by his restraint. The system replies that he's talking nonsense. The system has strange fetishes on its mind, then uniforms, then questionable situations. Ichi sits in his room and asks where he's been, and he replies that he had a stomach ache and was in the bathroom. Zhang is embarrassed and asks why she waited for him. She says he worked really hard tonight, and she just came to remind him that tomorrow's round will consist of 3 close combat bouts, and they are definitely the center of everyone's attention. She tells him to take care of himself. He's embarrassed, but agrees. She asked him to fight, but to take care of himself. He asks him to wait. She asks what he smells like. He lies that it's toilet incense, but it's really the smell of the Empress. She's tripping him. He falls on his butt and cries out. Ichi orders him to freeze. She says that the smell is very familiar to her. Jan decides to change the subject. He remembered how the other clan cheated in battle, and they'll do it tomorrow, so he offers to heal her eyes. Ichi says that just because it's Zhang Lan, she will trust him. She hopes he can help her. Zhang Lan was just joking when he suggested it. Zhang Lan will make every effort to help her. Ichi has one eye closed and says she can only see the largest objects. Turns out she's not completely blind. She's almost completely nearsighted. Jan wants to buy glasses for Ichi with points. The system is still angry. Its reactions are too human. Zhang was going to heal Ichi's eyes and then have her wear the uniform, but she would have to wear the uniform with an eye patch if not healed. Zhang gets the points. He says the system is like a randy old man, so he knows how to deal with it. He's going to put them on Ichi. He smiles and asks how she is. She says it's amazing and asks how he did it. Zhang says he's a master of miracles, and if she wore the glasses tomorrow, everyone would be very surprised. Ichi is very grateful to Zhang Lan and bows. He says she can do him a mutual favor. He pulls out an outfit and asks her to put it on. She says the outfit has a weird style and asks why she would wear it. Zhang says it's a gift for a friend, and he wants to see how it fits Ichi's figure since they're the same size. Ichi agrees to try it on and asks to wait. Ichi has become even deadlier with her vision. Tomorrow she must defeat all enemies, and John will spend points on things that will help him fight without divine power. Ichi says she's done and exits. Ichi says this outfit is too small for her. Jan says the size is right and it looks great. The divine body is at the cooling stage and energy is being drained out through Zhang's nose in the form of blood. Ichi asks fearfully what happened. Zhang waves his hands, calming her down. Ichi stumbles on the uneven floorboards. She falls on top of Zhang. Zhang snorts in response to Ichi's apology. A little blood spurts out of his nose. She bends down in an apologetic bow and says she tripped and hurt him unintentionally. She bows and apologizes. With every bend she makes, more blood spurts out of him. Zhang says it's okay and offers to discuss tactics for tomorrow. He says he won't be able to cultivate energy until tomorrow, and so the victory falls on Ichi's shoulders. Ichi apologizes and her button flies off because of the tilt. Zhang tells her to stop apologizing. The 3 teams that won today are in the finals. They will most likely be placed first, and Ichi and Techuai should hold out until he recovers, and then they will definitely win. Ichi says she'll share with Techui and do her best, but her outfit is torn. Zhang says he has clothes for her and to go to Techui. They say their goodbyes. She likes Zhang, but she's dedicated to cultivation, and she can't afford such lewd thoughts. If Ichi hadn't left, Zhang would have died of blood loss. He's calling the system. The system congratulates him for completing the 7th task and wants to give him an award. Zhang interrupts her. Zhang wants to exchange the award for points. Rewards are always very rare gear, and exchanging them for points for the sake of common items is not advisable. Jan asks for more points and suggests creating more benefits next time. The reward can be exchanged for 4,000 points, and she can transfer it to his account. Zhang agrees. There are 4,359 points in the account. which John is going to exchange for some kind of weapon, like a machine gun or a pistol. The system says there are rifles, exo-armor, and nukes. Jan tells her to give him everything. The system resents that he's lost his mind, because this is an ancient era and there can't be such weapons here. Zhang asks why she was offering it to him and what he would be able to trade for his points. The system opens a portal to the vault. Jan has a bunch of different weapons and items in front of him. He's happy with his choice of weapon. The finale of the conference begins. Participants from the winning sects are invited to the stage. Participating from the Lingyun clan are Qin Yun, known as Gentleman Lingyun Sword, Hu Wang, and Zhao Liang. Participating from Xuanjian are Night Owl, who can chop off 1,000 heads with one blow, Kai Zhe and Wu Dong. The members from the Jade Goddess clan appear. Zhang asks if the girls are hungry. The Xuanjian clanmaster laughs at Zhang Lan having pancakes brought into the arena. Linson is advised not to laugh because yesterday she beat 3 students with only 3 punches. He shouldn't underestimate them. The clan heads decide that the Jade Goddess clan can no longer be allowed to show off, because if it comes out, none of the 5 clans will be able to raise their eyes in shame. The head of the Xuanjian clan says that their luck has run out. The Lion and Xuanjian clans join forces to defeat the Jade Goddess clan. But Zhang Lan is surprisingly calm. He probably has a plan. The final is a 3-way fight with 9 people, and there is only one rule. No one can be killed or maimed. The last man to surrender or lose consciousness is eliminated, and the last man standing is the winner. The finals begin, and the contestants are given 90 minutes. The clan favorites go on the attack against the Jade Goddess clan. Zhang pats himself on the head, remembering something. The attacker notices Zhang Lan's reaction. Techui asks what happened. Zhang is given 3 strikes a day, and there are only 6 opponents. Zhang wonders which enemy will be the first to be defeated. Opponents realize that Zhang can only knock out from 1 punch 3 times a day. They want to frame the other clan for these blows. The ones that ran to attack decide to retreat. They want to let the other clan advance, but they don't want to attack first. 1 hour to finish. Participants simply stand and do not attack. The ringleader yells for them to hurry up and attack. The contestants decide to ignore it and wait it out because they don't want to get hit by the knockout blows. It would take another hour for Zhang to regain his energy, and if they waited, they were guaranteed to win. Ichi screams danger. She and Takui fend off the attack with daggers. The audience is thrilled that the action has begun. Qin Yun decides to take action, for it seemed to him that the waiting had gone on long enough, and it was time for them to stretch out. They decided to provoke the Jade Goddess clan. They have figured out Zhang Lan's bluff after all. He can't use his gloves, and if he could, he would be on guard. The battle begins. Qin Yun made the first move, the other participants hesitant to attack. The disciple says they should not be in a hurry and should let them fight. They will wait for an opportunity before making their move. The attackers continue to advance and decide they don't need to wait for stragglers. Trinity attacks. Techui and Ichi hold the defense, but the pressure of the attackers is hard to contain. Qin Yun realized that this was a bluff on Zhang Lan's part, or heard those words and opened his mouth in shock. Hu Wang attacks Ichi on Qin Yun's tip. Zhang frowned. The Empress leans forward with excitement. Hu Wang gets caught in a looping trap on the ground. Noose tightens his grip on his leg. Zhang bids him a happy farewell. Hu Wang is shocked. He's pulled away from the ground. Trap throws him out of the arena. Hu Wan is defeated. Someone has set traps in the arena. A clan head asks if there was a trapping arrangement this year. The other asks why they weren't told. Head Xuanjin says that he too just found out about the traps and they didn't set any. After all, they wouldn't have fallen into them themselves. The clan leaders realize something's going on. This trap cost Zhang 30 points. The contestant accuses Zhang Lan of being the one who set the traps. Techui attacks him and says it is not for him to judge the honesty of others. Qin Yun asks if Kai Xi is going to help him. Ichi is distracted by the sonic vibrations. Zhang Lan decides to attack first, and then deal with the short-legged Techui. Techui is indignant upon hearing the nickname. Ichi takes off her blindfold. 2 men come at her? She throws them away from her with energy. Ichi put on her glasses and smirked. The hour of the victory scales was now tipped towards the Jade Empress clan. Zhang praises Ichi. The contestant grasps his bloody chest. He is shocked that Ichi is not blind. Ichi attacks the attackers with his foot. At the end of the attack, she kicks them back into the wall. The head of their clan is shocked. The situation in the arena had changed drastically. The entire Jade Goddess clan remained in the arena, 2 from Lingyun and 1 from Xuanjian. With 15 minutes to go, there were only 6 contestants left in the arena. All chances of victory are in the hands of the Jade Goddess clan. Qin Yun is afraid of becoming a laughingstock as a result of losing. Ichi and Techui's magic is not that perfect, but Zhang Lan's is very strong. He decides to use his last trump card. The head of his clan nods approvingly at him. The contestants eat some pills. They decide to dope to increase their magic level. Zhang notices they're up to something. Magic begins to ooze from the hands of the attackers. They run forward to take out Zhang Lan first. Ichi rushes to her defense. Zhang yells for her not to do that. The magic strikes Ichi and incapacitates her. Qin Yun attacks Zhang, but Techui pushes him away just in time. Qin Yun attacks with daggers and demands to let him destroy Zhang Lang. Techui carries Zhang Lan away, but her leg is struck by a dagger. The Qing Yun clan takes out Ichi and Techui. The crowd cheers them on. The Empress is furious that the heads allow the disciples to use the Zhengyuan potion, and that they are willing to do such a lowly thing for the sake of victory. The heads deny that their students use doping, laugh at the Empress, and advise them to prepare better next year. The Jade Goddess clan is almost defeated. Ichi realizes that with Zhao Liang's level he couldn't hurt her, which means he was cheating to increase his energy. Techui yells that Ling Yun is doping and they should be ashamed. Qin Yun says that he didn't consume anything, since no one has seen anything like this. The spectators cheer him on and shout that the Jade Goddess clan should admit defeat and not disgrace themselves. Zhang hears the crowd and realizes what he has to do. He decides it's time for a real battle. Qin Yun says to beware of traps. His partner rips off his clothes and runs towards the Jade Goddess clan disciples. He jumps toward them. Suddenly, a bamboo trap mechanism is activated under his foot. He chops the bamboo into pieces. He shouts that such traps are nothing to him. From the side, he activates another trap. She hits him with a clang, knocking him backwards. Qin Yun recognizes the sound. Qin Yun's partner is defeated by the iron bamboo. Zhang opens the inventory and realizes that there are still 2 opponents left. Qin Yun is furious that the Jade Goddess clan doesn't want to surrender. Zhang hides behind a shield from his inventory. Qin Yun was shocked. Where did Jian Lan get such a large shield from? Zhang hides behind his shield and throws something towards his opponent. It turns out to be a rocket launcher. Zhang says he has trumps up his sleeve too. Qin Yun says that she couldn't hide this weapon in her sleeve and runs away from the arrows. Suddenly, a blow splits the rig. Techui shouts as Night Owl storms out of the fight. Night Owl says that Zhang used a lot of tricks, but didn't use her instant knockout technique, which means she can't use it tonight. Owl had been secretly observing Zhang Lan's actions all this time. The Empress wondered why Zhang Lan couldn't attack anymore. Owl says that Zhang hid behind her shield even from Qin Yun's daggers, though it's not hard to do with the technique, which means she can't use it. Owl decides it's time to end this farce. Finally, the cooling of the divine body is complete and its recharging is available. Zhang Lan prepares to repel the attack. He is yelled at to dodge. Suddenly, the attack is reflected by Techui's hammer. She shivers and says he needs to dodge, not stand still. Zhang reassures her and tells her that all danger is behind her and she can just watch. Zhang yells for them to get ready to fly and makes a fist. Night Owl and Qin Yun flinched. The attack fails, discouraging him, as Janna has no energy. The current energy reserve is 0, and it is necessary to recharge the body in time. Zhang is shocked that he only found out about this now. Night Owl says the show is over. Qin Yun says that Zhang has fooled him again. If Techui assumes a hot pose and Zhang touches it, his energy will be restored. Zhang says it might hurt a little, but she has to do it. Suddenly, there is an explosion and Zhang Lan is thrown backwards. This explosion was done by Qin Yun, who says that Zhang Lan definitely has no chance of winning now. Zhang raises up on his elbows. Now that Techui and Ichi are unconscious, he doesn't know how to restore power. He contemplates whether he can get the Empress to let him charge from her or start reading an adult magazine, but he may not have time to build up a charge. Zhang is panicked and doesn't know what to do. Qin Yun attacks the Night Owl. Night Owl's illusion seal is broken. The owl falls to the ground face down. To Zhang Lan's bewilderment, his opponents started fighting each other. Qin Yun thanks his rival for helping him deal with Zhang Lan and decides to deal with him first. Head Xuanjian shouts that Qin Yun betrayed his fighter. Head Ling Yun says that there can only be one winner. The mask falls from Owl's face, exposing her face and long hair. Pieces of the mask scatter to the ground. The owl turns out to be a woman. She is angry at the traitor. Qin Yun laughs at Owl's gullibility. Zhang is happy to have a girl by his side. The owl irritably threw knives at Qin Yun. He jumps up, dodging the attack. He says she is no threat to him. He swings around and takes off, preparing his attack. He yells that she's finished. He strikes, but Zheng Liang manages to carry Night Owl away unharmed. Zheng Liang screams and drops the owl on the ground. The judge yells out that Zhang Lan saved Night Owl. Did they decide to team up? But it is unlikely to help them. Qin Yun says that he wanted to play with Zhang Lan, but it's like she's asking him to finish her off quickly. Owl yells that she shouldn't have saved her, and she doesn't need Zhang Lan's help. Zhang asks if she's willing to let him win, and if she's willing to help, then they can finish him off. Owl thinks about the offer and asks how she can help. Qin Yun attacks and shouts that the time for discussion is over. Smoke spreads from the thing Zhang throws on the ground. Qin Yun notices Zhang's movement. The referee yells that Zhang Lan used a smoke bomb to stall for time. The referee yells that Qin Yun seems afraid to make an attack, and Zhang's tactics are obviously working. Qin just took a break and promises himself that he will kill this idiot after the contest. Owl squints at the smoke around her. She asks what Zhang is doing. Zhang says her clothes are torn and gives her a new outfit. He paid points for it. Owl yells that this outfit is humiliating. Zhang replies that he can't explain it, but if she wears it, he will have the strength to defeat Qin Yun. Owl doesn't believe him. She heard that there are lesbians in the Jade Goddess clan, and now she has proof of it. She is going to show everyone what she thinks about the outfit. Zhang tries to stop her. Suddenly, her hand with her clothes freezes. Owl says that this outfit is incredibly soft, and she would love to try it on. Zhang says she should definitely try it on. The owl begins to take off his clothes. She takes off her clothes in front of Zhang and says she's ready to try on the outfit. Zhang is pleased with the sight. The divine body begins to charge up. Qin Yun sees Zhang and Owl's silhouettes and rushes to attack. He releases the Flame Tiger spell, already confident of his victory. Zhang stops the attack with his fist. Zhang says the competition has just started. Owl says the skirt is too short. Owl doesn't understand why she is embarrassed to wear such clothes, but at the same time, also enjoys it. The referee yells that Owl has suddenly changed into a revealing outfit. The audience yells that they can't see the details, but the outfit is obviously revealing, and they love it. The Empress gets annoyed and wonders what they were doing in the smoke. Qin Yun paled that Zhang had repelled his Flame Tiger fist in just one move, and didn't understand how he managed to do it. Zhang says it's better to call that punch the pussycat fist. Owl chuckles. Zhang notices that Night Owl is a ferocious opponent, but she has a pleasant laugh. Zhang notices that Owl also has large breasts. The divine body is 150% charged and needs to be drained immediately. Zhang decides that the longer he stares at the girl, the worse he will feel. Qin Yun shouts for Zhang not to dare laugh at his techniques and prepares to attack. Suddenly, Zhang rushed towards Qin Yun and threw a punch. The impact throws him backwards. Zhang says he talks a lot. It's better to concentrate on the fight instead of rambling. The referee says that Qin Yun is knocked down, and Zhang Lan has once again shown her awesome strength. Qin Yun rises threateningly and asks why Zhang Lan hid her strength before. Zhang replies that she just wanted to tease him. Qin attacks and shouts for her not to think that he would start to fear her if her strength recovered. He fully activates Genuine Dan. Qin Yun gains incredible speed and attacks with his fists. Zhang fights back effortlessly from his attack and says that he is too weak if he is only able to do such a thing after doping and asks if he has kidney failure. Qin Yun becomes enraged. He creates a sword and yells for Zhang to blame himself. The Empress recognizes the Demon Slayer's sword and wonders what a sword capable of destroying the world is doing in a mere apprentice. The head replies that he is worthy to hold this weapon. Qin Yun shouts with rage and strikes out with his sword. Zhang stands, preparing to reflect the flow of energy that the sword generates. The heads say that if she doesn't dodge, she will definitely lose. But they are happy that the Jade Goddess clan will be at the bottom again, as it should be. No one can resist this sword except the wielder of the Guiyun sword. Zhang dissects the opponent's attack with his sword. He says that the heads are overconfident. The clan head doesn't understand where Zhang got this weapon from. The other clan heads are in complete shock. The ancient Guiyun magic sword in Zhang's hands. Could it be that the Jade Goddess clan possesses such artifacts? The clan heads think that the Empress is very rich and dares to keep such treasures a secret. The Empress replies that they should not look at her, but at the arena. Qin Yun drinks his sword with energy and says that Zhang Lan can never be defeated. The judge says that Qin summons a sword demon using essence and blood, and is going to perform a decisive strike, as this strike can kill with a single attack. Qing Yu Yun is the epitome of perseverance. The stands all support Qin Yun and tell Zhang Lan to surrender. Tens of thousands shouting in support of Qin Yun, and anyone would be hurt by this. Even if Zhang has a magic artifact, the hostility of the crowd doesn't diminish it. Zhang dissects the stands with energy and scares the audience. Zhang Lan tells them not to piss him off. Owl decides that she is underestimating Zhang. The referee yells that it's against the rules to damage the stands and threaten spectators. Zhang casts a death glare at the referee. The judge changes his attitude and says that Zhang has a good chance of winning and the Jade Goddess Temple will win soon. The judge has the temperament of a dog and tends to attack the weak and fear the strong. Qin Yun knows that the stands are made of iron and concrete, and if he tried to hit them, he wouldn't even be able to make a dent. But Zhang randomly slashed them open with a punch, and Lin knows that he can't defeat her. Qin Yun realizes that if he moves, he will immediately lose, and doesn't know what to do. Zhang gives him two options, die or surrender. Qin Yun surrenders and says that in a fair fight there is no shame in surrendering or losing. The clan head shouts that Qin is a coward. Night Owl and Zhang Lan remain in the game. The referee asks what they will do. Owl says she has no powers and gives up too. The Night Owl has surrendered, which means the Jade Goddess clan is the winner. The judge announces that the winner of the 6 clans conference is the Jade Goddess clan. Qin Yun suddenly coughed up blood and tried to cover his mouth with his palm. He falls to his knees, shaking and vomiting blood. Zhang realizes that this was a side effect of using doping and releasing so much magical energy. Owl yells for Zhang to be more careful. The clan head rushes in with an attack on Zhang and says that his apprentice surrendered, but Zhang killed him anyway. Zhang had 20% of his energy defense left after being hit. Zhang bounces off the ringleader, his feet leaving furrows in the ground. The ringleader says it's his duty to deliver justice today. Zhang's clothes are torn, he trembles and moans in pain. The Empress grits her teeth after seeing what has happened. The judge notices that Zhang's clothes are filled with buns. Zhang tries to cover himself. The ringleader smiles because Zhang pretended to be a woman from the Jade Goddess clan. He laughs because the main hallmark of the Empress clan was hatred of men, and they let a man fight at their side. Night Owl realizes she just changed clothes in front of a man. The clan head says that the Empress took an outsider for the conference, and it's a bit upsetting. The second head says that they are not so righteous, and have redrawn the reputation of the Jade Goddess clan among the other clans. The Empress hears their words and is annoyed. The ringleader demands an explanation from the Empress. She's afraid they'll be kicked out of the 6 clans because of the scandal. She's starting to make excuses. Zhang chews a bun and interrupts the Empress. He says that the ringleader is a pompous idiot for demanding an explanation from the Empress. And the Ling Yun clan chooses the ringleader based on his level of chutzpah. Leader Ling Yun tells him to shut up and promises to deal with him later. Zhang says that he just likes to interrupt. And the leader is just stupid, because the Jade Goddess clan never explicitly said that a man can't join their clan. The judge confirms Zhanlan's words. After all, there is no prohibition for males in their rules, and everyone just made it up to be true because they have never accepted men. The ringleader asks why they tricked everyone and disguised Zhanglan as a woman. Zhang says he just likes to dress up as a woman and never said he was a woman. Zhang sacrifices his reputation for the clan and Jun Xuanyao now owes him. The ringleader screams that he's not an idiot for believing it. Zhang says that they didn't break any rules, and the Jade Goddess clan didn't promise to nominate only women for the conference. Also, there is no rule that people like Zhanglan should not participate. The heads are upset, but they can't charge anything to Zhanglan. The ringleader tells Zhang not to dare cheat them, and the 6 clans must eliminate him from the competition. The ringleader did not give in to Zhanglan's entreaties. The Empress, Tetui, and Ichi are unable to continue fighting and so will have to retreat. Someone says the head of the Changrog clan says hello. Zhang and the head look up. Long Wushuang, a great disciple of the Jade Goddess clan, says that the head wants to see who won the competition. The great disciple's name is Wushuang, and she ended the retreat early. The heads of the other clans are unhappy with her interference in the arena. Zhanglan likes the view of Wushuang, his body starting to charge up. The girl calls the other 5 clans trash because they chose to cause trouble for her Jade Goddess clan. She says they shouldn't underestimate them. The head of the Ling Yun clan orders her down to the ground. The disciples of his clan rush to attack. They say they are keeping order at the conference and advise Wushuang not to resist for her own safety. Wushuang interjects what they said. She summons her weapon. She says they are the ones who need to worry about safety and lashes out at them. Students create a joint spell of the Golden Dragon Array. Wushuang's energy sweeps away their spell, and them along with it. 3 students are flattened against the bleachers. Zhang thinks that such a fancy name is surprisingly of little use since the spell can't even stop a single blow. Night Owl suspects that Zhang is completely unaware of Long Wushuang. Zhang asks what she is famous for. Long Wushuang is the strongest warrior of the Jade Goddess clan, and once single-handedly stopped an army of 30,000 aliens. It is said that she is the only one who has obtained the true inheritance of the Jade Goddess's power, and is comparable in strength to the Empress 10 years ago. Zhang says that the Empress is very strong now, but 10 years ago she was even stronger. The power of the Jade Goddess is the first wonder of the world. There are a total of 9 stages of developing her power, but when one reaches the 8th stage and breaks through, the possessor becomes godlike. Long Wushuang had reached the 5th stage, and the Empress had reached the 8th stage and had almost passed it. Head Ling Yun yells that Long Wushuang dared to intrude in the fight, and he decides to teach her the rules himself. His clan's deputy asks for the head to temper his anger. Long Wushuang is the sole heir of the Long family, and pissing them off would not be very wise for the clan. The head pales. Head Ling Yun retreats. The deputy congratulates the Jade Goddess clan on their victory. Zhang is surprised that the fight is already over. Zhang says he has to go and runs to Ichi and Tetui, who are lying unconscious. Night Owl decides to find out what is so special about Zhanglan, that he has been accepted into the Jade Goddess clan in their next meeting. After winning the 6 clans competition, Zhanglan suddenly transformed into the hero of the Jade Goddess clan. Zhanglan can now walk around the clan grounds safely and not have to hide from the girls. The girls look at him and say how amazing he is. The system hasn't given Zhanglan a task for 3 days, and it's bothering the hero. Zhang says it's strange that the energy around him is more like Yinki rather than the Jade Goddess. Zhang sees a building engulfed in purple energy and wonders if it's demons. A voice comes from the building, saying that he is surprised that the Jade Goddess clan has a male member, even though the clan is known for hating them. Zhang says he's going to go do his business. The seal on the door begins to glow, and a voice suggests that they go inside to see what's inside. Zhang asks what could possibly be in the sealed demon. The voice promises to show Zhanglan something amazing if he goes inside. The voice speaks of the Empress's great secret. Zhang thinks about her figure. Jazz looks inside and asks what big secret of the Empress the voice was talking about. The blonde shackled woman says that Zhanglan has indecent thoughts and she's talking about valuable information, not the physical attributes of the Empress. The blonde asks who he is and what he's doing in the Jade Goddess clan. Zhang says he thought of the information and is the gatekeeper at the clan. The girl holds out her hand and asks why he shouldn't get closer to her since she won't bite. Zhanglan says that her methods won't work on him and she shouldn't get out of her skin. The shackled blonde says he's a very interesting man since he can resist her charms and is surprised he didn't jump her right away. Zhang says that he would have done that a month ago, but now she just needs to be on her best behavior since he has no intention of touching her. Zhang turns around and walks away. The blonde screams that he was only interested in the Empress's form a moment ago and demands that he look at her. Zhang says he won't be able to make love for another 2 days, but will come back to her in a few days when he's ready. Suddenly, chains wrapped around Zhanglan. They tighten around his neck. Zhanglan asks what's going on. The blonde says she's glad she surprised him. Turns out the chains weren't restraining her. She lured him inside so he wouldn't close the door. Zhang slams the door shut before the chains drag him away. The girl yanks the chain and tells Zhang to take her time closing the door, since she wasn't planning on leaving at all. Zhang pulls the chain away from her neck and asks what she wants to do then. The girl says that she said even earlier that she wanted to do something naughty to him. She parts his clothes with magic and tells him not to worry as she won't hurt him. She lifts her skirt and tells him to just get on and enjoy. Zhang gets excited and doesn't understand what's wrong with this world. Is it really that dangerous for a guy here to go out alone? The girl says that he belongs to her now. Zhang doesn't understand what she's up to. Zhang bites his lip and turns pale. Zhang concentrates and decides she can't let her continue and decides to release all the energy. The girl pulls down his pants with a predatory smile. Zhanglan's beam of energy blinds the girl. Energy pierces the ceiling at the sealed building. The girl says she didn't expect such a technique to be available to him. Only a shadow remained of Zhanglan. He ran away while the girl was distracted. Zhang pounces on the girl from behind and says that this is a stunt he planned specifically for a situation like this. He chains the girl up. She demands to be released. Zhanglan tells her to accept her situation as she will not be able to free herself from the chains. The girl says these iron chains won't be able to hold her and offers to kill her while he has the chance, or she'll break free in half a day. Zhang grabs another chain and says he's not done with it yet. The girl is worried and asks what he's up to. Zhang puts the chains on the girl. The girl finds herself tied up and calls Zhanglan a pervert. Zhanglan thanks for the compliment and says goodbye. The girl is suspended in the air and screams for him to let her go. Zhanglan doesn't understand why the Jade Goddess clan only restrained the demon with 2 iron chains. He thinks that the clan is very careless in its actions. Zhang walks away and decides it's none of his business. Zhanglan is not only exceptionally talented in the field of magic, but he is also proficient in secret binding techniques. It turns out that he is very skilled and cautious when performing tasks. The system decides to double the difficulty of the tasks. Zhanglan is asleep in his guard room. Someone calls his name and that's when he wakes up. Zhang opens the door and asks what happened. Shunan shouts that he slept through the incident. Shunan says that a thief has infiltrated the clan and he has insulted even the Empress's new apprentices. Shunan says that the thieves were able to break into the clan in broad daylight and then disappear. Zhang asks how many people were infiltrated. The girl replies that there were at least 10 of them. Zhang is surprised that such a crowd managed to infiltrate the clan in broad daylight. Shunan says that's why the Empress is furious. Zhang realizes that it was for nothing that he wandered around earlier. Someone shouts that she beat 10, but more could have infiltrated. Shunan tells Zhanglan not to say anything stupid. Zhang turned pale and bit his lip. He recognized the voice that shouted. The blonde screams at Techui that the clan is completely defenseless, and it's her own fault. Techui asks if she noticed what they looked like, or what techniques they used. She says she will immediately start an investigation into what happened. Shanning announces that she has brought Zhanglan. Techui says that Zhanglan was guarding the gate yesterday, and asks if he noticed anything unusual. The blonde girl flinches at the sight of the new arrivals. Zhang averts his gaze and says he didn't notice anything unusual. The blonde is nervous and wonders what he's doing here. Zhang bites his lip. He recognizes the blonde girl and asks himself how this little demoness could have been the Empress's apprentice. Techui asks Xiaohu what is happening to her. The girl replies that she feels a little dizzy. The Empress introduces Zhanglan and says that he is a clan guardian and very strong. She tells him to tell him what happened because he could see the thieves. Zhanglan speculates why she lied that there were 10 people who broke in and why she was locked in the demon tower in the first place. The system gives out the 8th assignment. Zhang thinks she picked a strange time to do it. The assignment is to teach Xiaohu to be a masochist. Zhang is given 10 days to do this. The reward is unknown, and the punishment is death by exploding anus. Zhang Lan gets excited at the thought. Xiaohu says she's still not recovered and should rest. Techui calls out to her. Zhang asks why he hasn't met this student before. Shunin says that Xiaohu is the last kitsune, and her clan was attacked by mysterious forces, but the Empress was passing by and saved her. Xiaohu had always wanted to go and seek revenge on her attackers, but she was stopped by the Jade Goddess clan disciples, because only in the clan can we ensure her safety. Later, when the Demon Tower was created, she was locked up there for her own safety. Xiaohu was unhappy about this and often sabotaged the clan, so the Empress often locked her in the tower so she could reflect on her actions. Zhang nods understandingly. No wonder the seal was so weak after all. It appeared to be part of the clan. Shunin tells him to stay away from the kitsune. Zhang doesn't understand why. Shunin says that Xiaohu has been trying to leave the Jade Goddess clan for years, and the Empress will tolerate whatever she does. But there is a prohibition that if she breaks, she will be expelled from the clan. In the Jade Goddess clan, the Empress's female disciples are forbidden to have sex with men and are subject to immediate expulsion. Xiaohu decides that this time she can finally escape. She decides to get Zhang Lan. Zhang Lan peeks out from around the corner. Zhang thinks he's being pressured. Shanning said that he should stop fooling around and should control himself. If Xiaohu leaves, she will face a sad ending. A hand suddenly rested on Zhang Lan's shoulder. Xiaohu tries to grab him by the neck. Zhang Lan dodges in time by diving down. Zhang Lan was shocked that she had managed to sneak up on him so discreetly. Xiaohu grabs him with an ankle lasso and knocks him down. Zhang Lan says that if it wasn't for the Empress, he would have let her engage in such nonsense. Xiaohu casts a nirvana spell, jumping into the air. She clings to his leg with her whip, forcing him to fall in a twine. In the process, she falls to the ground herself. Xiaohu says that she is annoyed that Zhang Lan won't come over to see her. He replies to her that it's time for her to stop. She falls on top of him and asks him to let her touch his fruit. Zhang Lan replies that it is not the fruit she is touching. Xiaohu throws herself at Zhang Lan with a hug. Zhang screams and tries to get up. Xiaohu suggests that Zhang Lan try to escape from her now. Suddenly, someone lifts her off Zhang Lan by the scruff of her neck. Long Wushan holds her by the scruff of the neck and asks when she will calm down. Xiaohu yells for her to be let go. Long Wushan asks if Shunin told Zhang Lan about Xiaohu's situation. Zhang Lan says that's why he would rather die than submit to Xiaohu's wishes. Long Wushang is satisfied with the answer and tells him to keep his guard up. She takes the screaming Xiaohu away with her. Shunin tells the Empress that Xiaohu is very persistent in her intentions, and they should think of a solution to this problem. Long Wushang suggests that Zhang Lan should be castrated to avoid trouble in the future. The Empress replies that this situation is not that important after all. It is also a test of fortitude for Zhang Lan and suggests to wait and see. Shunin asks why they would want to test Zhang Lan. Shanin suggests that this is a test of loyalty to the Empress and her orders. Zhang drives nails in, barricading his door. Zhang is satisfied that now his defense is as strong as a rock and no one will be able to enter. He hopes that this defense will deter Xiaohu from invading and molesting him. Suddenly the boards begin to ooze purple energy. Zhang Lan bites his lip and recoils, thinking that it is poisonous gas. Xiaohu cooed at Zhang Lan, enjoying the process, and giggled. Zhang Lan is trying to meditate. He tries to calm his thoughts, otherwise the consequences could be unimaginable. Around Zhang Lan, Xiaohu's images bustle, telling him not to be afraid and to open his eyes. Zhang Lan finds himself in the system. He asks how he got here since he didn't appeal to the system. The system replies that it does not obey his whims. If the system wants to call it will call it and does not need permission. System asks why Zhang Lan is so cowardly, as the girl herself falls into his arms. Zhang Lan asks why she wants popcorn, and if she's waiting for a special show just for her. He says she doesn't really like him and doesn't want to sacrifice his body for it. The system is surprised at the purity of his thoughts and promises to wait eagerly for developments. The system shows an image of the Empress and Shannon lying on a bed. Zhang Lan is surprised to notice him. He gets excited at the sight of them. His nose bleeds. Zhang realizes he can't stand the sight any longer. Suddenly, a beam of golden energy kicks open the door to Zhang Lan's room. Zhang Lan has fallen to his knees and is breathing heavily. Xiaohu walks over to him and giggles. She says her foxy scent finally came in handy and it finally came out on its own. Zhang Lan's eyes and cheeks turned red. He jumps on Xiaohu happily, surprising her. She thinks the scent has awakened the beast in him. She's happy her tricks finally worked. Xiaohu opens her arms and tells him not to hold back, because she's ready to get started soon. Zhang unleashes his energy and kicks out the gate. Xiaohu asks what he's done. Zhang exhales. Zhang Lan had used her internal energy to expel the obsession, and now she would not be able to affect him. Xiaohu happily notices that he has breached a gap in the demon defense. Zhang notices a gap in the magic shield. Xiaohu happily jumps out into the gap and thanks him for his help. Her tails and ears appear. Zhanglan tries to catch up with her and yells for her to stop. He falls to the ground. He had used too much energy and his body had not recovered yet. He faints as he watches Xiaohu run away. Shunan scolds Zhanglan that as the guardian of the courtyard, he not only allowed thieves to enter, but also damaged the barrier, causing her sixth sister to escape. Zhang is sitting on his heels, his hands tied. Shannon says that the rule says he should be punished, but he also defended the clan's honor at the conference, and so she can make an exception for him this time. Zhanglan exhales in relief. Shunan says that instead of punishment, he will be executed immediately. Zhanglan turns pale and says that they can't kill him. The Empress says he didn't destroy the barrier intentionally and doesn't deserve to die. Shawneen reminds her that execution is the minimum punishment the clan can mete out in this case. Zhanglan shouts that he is a man, and since these rules were created for a time when only women could be in the clan, they cannot apply to him. The Empress ponders his words. Shunan notices that the Empress is hesitant, which means that she is really partial to Zhanglan. Long Wushang joins the discussion and says that the first priority now is to get Xiaohu back. Zhang Lan turns to her in surprise. Long Wushang says that Xiaohu went to Haimang Grief, where demonic energy is the greatest and cultivating the Kitsune technique would be most effective. They should be able to stop her before her mind is controlled by her own technique. The Empress agrees. Since Zhanglan let her go, he must both return her and correct the mistake. The Empress asks what Shunan thinks about this. Shunan says that she will support whatever the Empress decides. Zhang promises to do everything he can to bring Xiaohu back. Long Wushang says that the strength of the two of them will be enough, and they don't need any help. She rushes off and pulls Zhanglan with her by the scruff of his neck. Zhang asks if their strength will really be enough. Long Wushang says that cultivating a kitsune requires a lot of energy, and suggests splitting up and finding the place with the most demonic energy. Zhanglan smiles and tells her to let him go. She immediately complies with his request right in midair. Zhang falls down and screams in terror. He hits the trees in a tumble and lands on a rock. Zhang decides he needs to learn to fly. Zhanglan reasoned that no matter what world you live in, you can always escape from home. He notices a huge pillar of purple energy ahead of him. Xiaohu sits cross-legged and immersed in cultivation. Zhanglan decides to knock her out with a stick, while she concentrates on cultivation. Xiaohu suddenly opens her eyes, her pupils glowing with energy. Gusts of energy broke Zhanglan's weapon and flung him backwards. Zhanglan's back hits the tree. It has only been a few hours since her escape, and she can already send him flying with just a glance. Zhanglan understands why they want her back, as she is a monster capable of destroying the world. Xiaohu's strength should still be at the third stage of heaven. Zhanglan decides to put out all his strength to try and get it under control. He throws adult books around and decides to attack. Charge the subject 100%. Xiaohu smiles, concentrating her energy. Zhang is walking towards her in tongues of his energy. She attacks him with an energy discharge. Zhanglan puts up a defense. It takes him 10% of his energy. Zhanglan wraps his legs around her waist, taking her by surprise. He grabs her soft parts and begins to restore her energy. To control Xiaohu, he needs energy, which he fuels by staying in this pose. It's like perpetual motion mode. Charge becomes 110%. She wraps her tail around his neck, taking him by surprise. Xiaohu was angry. She wrapped her tails around his limbs and pushed him away from her. She clenched her teeth and concentrated the energy in her hand, preparing to strike. Zhang realizes that such a blow can pierce him through and decides to spend 50% of his energy on defense. Xiaohu throws a punch, but it's met with his defenses. She is struck by the charge of his energy and screams. Xiaohu hurriedly runs away from him. Zhanglan tells her to wait. Kitsune lets out the foxy scent again. Zhang squints his eyes. He says that even without his sight, he can still catch her and reaches forward. He tries to grab her by the tails. His eyes are watery and he doesn't realize what his finger is caught on. Opening his eyes, he realizes that he's caught on Xiaohu's panties. He gets excited and realizes that the boundaries of his cognition have expanded. She fights him off and runs away. He apologizes and lies on the ground. A voice comes from the monster head-shaped cave, recognizing the aura of the arrivals. After all these years of waiting, it finally happened. A long black claw scratches the stone wall. The Tiger King smiles and is pleased that the world's last kitsune will finally fall into his hands. Zhanglan runs and looks around. Finding a Demonalisa among the trees is very difficult. He stops abruptly, noticing the pungent smell of blood in the air. He jumps around looking for it and finally finding its source. The dismembered corpses of animals lie in front of him. Zhanglan turns pale and looks around. He covers his mouth and nose against the odor. He thinks the animals were killed by Xiaohu. In the distance, he sees a glint of water and is attracted to the splash. He walks over to the body of water and tells Xiaohu to stop causing trouble. Long Wushan looks back at him to his surprise. He closes his eyes and says he didn't see anything. He believes she is worthy of the title of Big Sister. She asks if they didn't agree to split up and why he came running to her. Zhanglan says in bewilderment that Big Sister went to the west and he went to the east, and this is just the east. There is an awkward silence. Long Wushang snorts and walks away. Zhanglan realizes that she has a poor sense of direction. Zhanglan asks if she killed those animals. She says that when she was tracking Xiaohu, the beasts suddenly attacked her and she was forced to dismount. Xiaohu apparently wanted to slow her down. Zhanglan says that he didn't realize that Xiaohu could control animals. Long Wushang says that Xiaohu grew up in the clan and can't control the animals. Zhanglan asks who could have sicked them on her then. Long Wushang says that whoever it is, they can't stop her from finding Xiaohu and flies away. Zhanglan flinches in surprise, and the fact that she just left him behind like that. Zhanglan decides to rely only on himself and run as hard as he can. He runs and notices fallen trees, huge dents and splits in the ground. Zhanglan shouts to his older sister that he found something. Long Wushang is surprised that this guy's strength is so great that he is able to catch up with her on his own too. Zhanglan says that there was a recent battle here, and there are most likely traces left behind. He notices a scrap of cloth. He takes the flap in his hand and says that someone might have found Xiaohu before them. Long Wushang says he knows who could have done it. Zhanglan is puzzled. Long Wushang that it was the scum of all beasts, the king of tigers. Two beast-like guards with spears stand inside the cave. One notices something unusual and becomes alarmed. Long Wushang decapitates them with such speed that they don't have time to move. Zhanglan looks at the squirming guard and says that Big Sister has amazing technique. Long Wushang says that the Tiger King had a violent temper, and if he failed, he killed everyone involved. She says that when Zhanglan enters the cave, he should proceed carefully, and if he sees Xiaohu, he should go back so they can make a plan to rescue her. The crackle of fire can be heard. In a circle around the campfire, the animals are sitting and chatting merrily. Long Wushang leans against the wall and listens. Two girls enter the hall. They are carrying a piece of cloth and a bikini set. Dark energy rushes past them. Xiaohu finds herself unconscious and tied up surrounded by candles. Long Wushang sees the inscription above Xiaohu and decides that he deserves the title of scum of beasts. She punches the wall in anger. She hisses that it says shameless. Behind Long Wushang, the king of tigers appears. She turns around. The Tiger King smiles at the fact that the Empress sent her on this particular mission. Long Wushang says she's here to get someone, and there as he wants to live. He should give her Xiaohu. The Tiger King replies that he will have to refuse because Xiaohu is the last kitsune in the world, and many people would like to get her. He is going to sell her to a favorable buyer, and it is not profitable for him to give her away. Long Wushang yells that in that case, she'll have to deal with him on her own. Suddenly she feels dizzy. The Tiger King approaches her and asks if she is not feeling well. Long Wushang asks what he is doing to her. To catch Xiaohu, he had waited in this cave for 10 years. He knew that the Jade Goddess clan would definitely not give up. He didn't sit idly waiting for an opportunity, but perfected incense and destructive bones to be able to confront the Jade Goddess clan. Since Long Wushang has inhaled a lot of incense, and soon the poison will strike her heart and lungs and leave her without strength. She growls for him to stay away. He asks if she thinks this room is meant for Xiaohu. He says he wants to seduce Long Wushang specifically. He grabs her by the shoulders. He wants her precisely because of her cold-bloodedness, and today is definitely a good day for him. Long Wushang thinks that she shouldn't have split up with Zhanglan. The wall behind her cracks. From there, Zhanglan bursts out and punches the Tiger King in the muzzle. The Tiger King flies to the ground with a boot print on his cheek. Zhanglan notices that the bastard packed Xiaohu like a gift. Long Wushang says that he poisoned her and she can't use her powers, and now it's up to Zhanglan. Another beast with the head of a tiger appears and angrily asks who dares to touch their king. Zhanglan says that now he plans to not only beat up the king, but also kick his guard. The beast rushes at Zhanglan with a scream. Zhang takes a thudding leg kick right on the chin. Long Wushang blushed and admired Zhanglan's quickness. The guard groans in pain and holds his mouth. He realizes that this guy is not so simple and should not be underestimated. He realizes that Zhanglan is in league with the girl, which means that he is also from her clan, which means that he doesn't have to fight him because he will soon be poisoned by the incense air. He screams and slurs something because that's when his teeth come out of his mouth. Zhanglan asks what he said. Long Wushang says that he is slurring his words because of the lack of teeth in his mouth. Zhang notices that the tiger is diligently writing something. He is surprised that he can do that. He smiles with a toothless mouth and shows a paper where he says that Zhanglan will die soon from the poison, and he just needs to wait a little longer. Zhanglan claps his hands and gasps at what the tiger wrote about him. But before he gets poisoned, he's going to beat the tiger to death. Zhanglan's punch lands on the tiger's face with relish, knocking it back. The tiger thinks that the faster Zhanglan hits, the faster the poison will spread to his subject, which means the tiger just needs to wait for the guy to get poisoned. Zhang says that he only lives in the Jade Goddess clan. but he is not trained in their techniques and swings at the tiger. Tiger gets punched in the face and asks himself why he didn't say so sooner. The tiger falls down and raises the white flag. Zhang is surprised that he's already surrendering. Zhang asks his older sister what he should do about this guy. Long Wushang replies that he has committed an unpardonable crime and should be killed. Zhang smiles and says that the bones, skin, and claws of the tiger will be a great reward for him. Tiger wrote on the note a request that he not be killed, for he had useful information for them. Zhang asks what information he has. Tiger painstakingly writes. He wrote that he knew the truth about the extermination of the Demonlich clan. Long Wushang says he can tell everything and they will let him live. Long Wushang sits down next to Zhang and demands that the tiger start talking. Tiger begins to write a poem. Zhang and Long Wushang are disappointed by his attempts. Zhang exchanges the 5 points for dentures for the tiger. He stuffs them in his mouth and says that even though they are dentures for old people, at least this way he can tell them properly. Tiger rejoices as if he has grown real teeth. Zhang tells him not to get distracted. Tigre says that the demon pearl of the Demonlicious clan is a very rare item. It brings great benefits when cultivated, and that's why it has been hunted for over 1,000 years. 30 years ago, the last clan of Demonlace were hiding in the mountains where no one would be able to find them. Tiger had learned of their whereabouts quite by chance, and so he passed this information on to Xuan Jianzong. That one could not bear the shame of the destruction of the Demonless clan, and 6 clan heads were summoned for his meeting. Everyone wanted to attack the Fox clan to take the demonic pearl and increase the strength of their clans. Everyone except the Jade Goddess clan who was against it. Long Wushang says that the other clans attacked the Demon Face clan anyway, and only Xiao Hu was saved by the Empress. Tiger confirms this and says that the 5 clans joined together even though the 6th was against it. The Empress had to keep it a secret, and she took Xiao Hu into her clan to raise her safely. Zhang Lan understands why Xiao Hu wanted to escape to take revenge. She thought that the Jade Goddess clan was also involved in the genocide of her clan. Zhang Lan says that such things are not spoken of with such a stupid expression on his face and punches the tiger. Long Wushang says that the Empress never explained anything to Xiao Hu because she knew she wouldn't believe her. The passive observer is also at fault. She says to wait for Xiao Hu to wake up and explain everything to her along with the tiger. Zhang decides to release Xiao Hu for now. Tiger says that he has already sent the girl's information to a buyer, and he is on his way. This buyer has a power that is much higher than all 6 clans, and the Jade Goddess clan will be threatened. Zhang Lan says that not even Heavenly King Laozi would be able to take her away from them. Xiao Hu is unconscious and sheathed like a gift. The charge of the celestial body rises to 115%. Xiao Hu falls on Zhang Lan and the latter asks for Long Wushang's help. Long Wushang is pleasantly surprised that he is not an ordinary student, but a true gentleman who would never take advantage of others' misfortune. Zhang Lan grabs the tiger by the chest and asks how dare he do such a low thing to Xiao Hu. The tiger replies that it was the maid's, and he had never laid a finger on her. Zhang Lan tells him not to deny his guilt, for this blow is meant for him alone. The tiger punches through the ceiling of the cave. His false teeth fall out of his mouth. He notices 2 approaching objects in the distance. Tiger realizes that Wang Bai's buyer is already here, and now they're all screwed. Zhang Lan suggests to hurry up and get out of here and leave these mountains. Long Wushang gritted his teeth and carried Xiao Hu. Long Wushang senses something dangerous is coming. Zhang Lan doesn't know what she's talking about. The 2 are approaching the cave faster and faster. The tiger rushed back to Zhang Lan because he would be much safer with them than with the incoming customers. Zhang Lan jumps on his back and asks him where he's going. He tells him to obediently wait with them until Xiao Hu wakes up to tell her everything. Zhang Lan says that he will have to lay it out to her in as much detail as they do. Tiger asks him not to pull his hair so hard. Long Wushang says that they need to hurry up and get out of here. Zhang Lan looks at her questioningly. Someone behind them asks them to hold on. Long Wushang is upset that they didn't have time to leave. A girl and an old man are standing in front of the heroes. The one says that this kitsune has already been bought by the young lord of their clan and asks them to give her to him. Zhang Lan asks how much money the tiger took for selling the man. The tiger replies that he hasn't been paid yet, and the payment was to be made after receiving the goods. Zhang Lan says that the old man is a little late. The seller hasn't received the money yet, so their deal is already invalid, and they will take the fox. The old man laughs at him. He says they chose their own outcome. He tells them to get ready and smirks. The newly arrived girl rushes to attack Long Wushang, but the latter has already noticed her approach. Long Wushang realizes that her energy has not yet recovered from the poison. Zhang Lan grabs the girl by the hem and says that he will be her opponent. Zhang Lan says that they are being unreasonable, and the whole situation has already been explained to them, and they continue to act as they please. The girl attacks him with her foot and tells him to let go of her clothes. Zhang Lan dodges and says she has amazingly long legs. Long Wushang says they shouldn't get into a battle and better leave soon. The old man recognizes Long Wushang, and she is already turning to leave. Zhang Lan smiles and says that the girl should leave the attempt to get the fox because he doesn't want to hit women. The girl attacks him with her foot. She slaps him between the legs and tells him the fucking hubby shouldn't look down on her. The old man twitches in phantom pain at the sight of that punch. Zhang Lan says that her stunts are very predictable. The girl's leg is sandwiched between his legs. Zhang Lan says that he has no weaknesses now. 20% of his energy was spent on his groin area defense. The girl blushes and asks why he has it so hard there. The girl approaches Zhang Lan and demands proof that he doesn't have a metal plate there. Zhang Lan backs away and asks what she's letting herself get away with. Long Wushang is indignant and asks what he is doing there. Xiaohu lies leaning against the trunk of a tree. Behind the tree, a tiger is hiding and smiling. The protagonist shouted unhappily that he couldn't even catch his breath after the girl held him to her chest. The rival sternly told the guy that she wanted to see what he really had inside. At this time, Lun came up behind the girl and angrily grabbed her clothes. Lun yelled to the guy that if he didn't have his hand up the girl, she would deal with her herself. After which, the beaten girl lay unconscious and motionless on the ground. Zhang Lan asked girlfriend Lun if her cultivation had recovered. The girl was angry. The man who approached slyly said that he had already seen the girl next to him somewhere. The guy got worried. The man said that Lun Wushan left her family to avoid being engaged to the young master. Zhang was amazed when he learned of the engagement. The man angrily told the girl that Lun had hidden in the Jade sect. The girl was flustered. She didn't know what to say. Zhang couldn't understand why his girlfriend was so scared. The man sternly demanded that the girl return to them. He added that the young gentleman could send someone himself to fetch the girl. The interlocutor threatened the moon girl that the Jade sect might drown in a river of blood. The man turned to the girl and demanded that she return and make amends to the young gentleman. The protagonist decided not to wait any longer. He ran up to the man and grabbed his arm. Zhang asked angrily at the man, "Did the man really and decided to take Sister Moon's hand at such an age?" The man angrily asked the guy if he knew who was behind him. Zhang calmly replied that he would love to hear it. The interlocutor shouted menacingly that he was one of the 4 major Huazhu families. The protagonist, without thinking for a long time, swung around and pounded the man in the face with his fist and said he didn't want to hear any more. The warrior grabbed his girlfriend and jumped high up. He threatened the protagonist that he had insulted the Van family and that he should prepare for revenge. Zhang looked at the man who had flown away and said that he was annoyed with him. He directly suggested to his girlfriend to silence the old man forever and bury him. Lun warned him that this would kill all living things within a 100 li radius. The boy asked excitedly to his girlfriend, what kind of engagement was the man talking about? Lun said she would tell everything in detail when they got back. At this time, the vixen suddenly came to her senses and spilled out very badly. A tiger was watching her from behind. Lun couldn't understand why the fox had started raging. The guy said fearfully that the Tiger King had transfused demonic chi into Xiaohu. The monster pointed his hand at the humans and shouted to the vixen that they were the ones who had exterminated her people. An angry demonic fox was floating in the air. A glow was emanating around her. The fox, glaring with her eyes, angrily shouted to be given back the lives of her people. Zhang got excited and said Xiaohu has become stronger again. Lun said, "Seriously, the fox has revealed 5 tails. She now has strength equivalent to the 6th cultivation level." The guy marveled at the fact that the more tails a fox had, the stronger it was. Xiaohu shouted to the people that she would take their lives and prepared to attack. Lun warned the frightened guy to stay focused. Zhang, ask your girlfriend, is there any way to get a fox to feel? The tiger said angrily, Xiaohu can only think of revenge right now. She could only be stopped by making her feel stronger emotions than hatred. Zhang thought excitedly. He could have overpowered the fox in battle, but he didn't have the energy right now. The guy shouted to the surprised lunar girl that he wanted to ask her for a favor. The tiger menacingly commanded the Xiaohu fox to kill the humans as soon as possible. Zhang shouted to his girlfriend to be careful. He prepared to repel the magic wave from the Xiaohu. The moon girl fearfully and excitedly called out the protagonist by name, after which the guy suddenly fell on top of his girlfriend. The system reported that his current energy level had reached 100%. Lun went over to the guy, examined him, and asked him if he was okay. Zhang was lying on the ground. The angry fox prepared to attack further. She shouted at the humans to go to hell. The moon girl gingerly watched as Xiaohu activated her magic skills. Zhang prepared to defend his girlfriend and fend off the fox's attack. The boy shouted angrily to his rival that he would let her feel what fear was all about. The tiger was surprised that the protagonist was able to tear apart the phantom fox claws with his bare hands. Xiaohu was furious. The protagonist jumped into the air and prepared to attack the fox. Zhang slapped Xiaohu's face and demanded that she wake up soon. Foxy started to come to her senses. She heard Zhang Lan's voice. She felt her face hurt. Xiaohu got an expressive look. Zhang shouted at the fox to wake up soon. Xiaohu heard Zhang Lan's voice and couldn't understand how he dared to hit her. Suddenly, the fox felt very pleased for some reason. Xiaohu came to her senses and frighteningly felt that she was already starting to melt. It became quiet in the forest. You could even hear squirrels making noise on a tree branch. The protagonist looked excitedly at the vixen and said that it seemed like it should be enough already. The guy looked at the recovered Xiaohu and couldn't understand why she had such a slutty expression on her face. The fox smiled and told the protagonist that his palms were very warm and strong. Zhang marveled at the fact that the vixen wasn't dumbfounded after the blows to the head. The fox rushed at the guy and told him not to stop and feel sorry for her. Zhang got scared and yelled for Xiao Ha to stay away from him. The system informed the guy that he had completed the 8th mission. Zhang was also given a new mission to continue training Hu Xiaohu. Xiaohu looked at the protagonist in love and demanded that he beat her. Lun told the guy that the vixen was behaving abnormally and should be taken to the head. At that time, the tiger was hiding in the side near a tree. He decided to run away unnoticed, at which time the main character suddenly appeared from the side of the tiger. Zhang told the monster quietly and angrily that if he used such tricks again, he would make a tincture of his organ. In the main hall of the Jade Sect, the tiger narrated that the destruction of the demonic Face Clan had nothing to do with the Jade Sect. The sect head was watching carefully at everything that was happening. At this time, the main character was shouting for Xiaohu to let him go. Zhang shouted to everyone that the sect leader was looking at them. Xiaohu said slyly that she would stand up if the guy hit her. The vixen begged and demanded of the guy that he hit her soon. The sect leader said grudgingly for Xiaohu to stop messing around. The cult leader then informed the protagonist that he had corrected his mistake and would be forgiven. Zhang thanked the girl. To himself, he thought to himself that she might give him something. Xiaohu told the guy that she would call him master. The girl asked the protagonist where Wu Shuang had gone. The guy replied that Wu Shuang had just gone somewhere. Zhang got a new mission from the system. He has to return Lun Wu Shuang to the Jade Sect. The guy was upset because girlfriend left. A girl ran in and shouted excitedly that her older sister had broken out of the sect with her luggage. Now her whereabouts are unknown. The sect leader grudgingly said, "How could Lun leave on her own? Something must have happened." The guy said that they met 2 people who wanted to take the vixen. When they met them, Lun's expression was strange. Zhang asked the tiger monster to tell the origin of the people they met. The tiger said gravely, "Behind the strangers was the Van of Lanier family." The clan head got excited and said that the Van family from the Lanyi had discovered the Moon Girl after all. The maid standing next to the protagonist told her mistress that Zhang Lan had arrived. The sect leader asked the strict guy if he knew anything about the Van of Lani family. The guy thought admiringly that the empress looked lovely today. Zhang replied that today was only the first time he had heard of the Wang family. He asked Madam, "How strong is this family?" Head of Sectu said that there are 4 families on the Huazhu continent it's best not to quarrel with. They also include the Wang family. The girl said that the 4 main families can handle an entire country by themselves. The guy asked the lady if she was exaggerating. He clarified, "How strong are the families compared to the 6 sects?" The girl said that many disciples of the 6 sects come from the 4 main families. Zhang said cheerfully, "The 6 sects are still stronger if the main families send people there to train." The interlocutor said that these people are only representatives of side branches. They join sects because of impure blood and are not the main descendants. The girl added that Qin Yun was a member of the Qin family of Xiajun. The guy was surprised because of Qin Yun turning out to be so generic. Madam reported that Qin Yun had no talent for cultivation. He joined the 6 sects as the last disciple of the mentor. Wu Shuang is the only daughter of the Lun family of Shanxing. They wanted to get closer to the Wang family. The sect leader said that the Lun girl was betrothed to the heir of Wang Fugui. Wu Shuang didn't want to accept this and ran away from the family and became a disciple of the mistress. The boy asked, "Why didn't anyone from the Moon or Wang families go looking for the girl?" The sect leader said that not many people know the Wu Shuang girl's identity, and they don't want to get involved. Among other things, no one in the Wang or Moon family wants to make enemies. Zhang said that if Wu Shuang returned to the Wang family and became a young mistress, she would want to settle scores with her enemies. The lady said that she wanted to shelter the Moon Girl in the Jade Sect. This time, Wu Shuang left without saying goodbye. She was probably afraid that the Wang family would take out their anger on the Jade Sect. A servant came by and said that she had led the people to follow the Moon. But the girl refused to go back. The Moon said she wanted to go back and get married. Zhang remembered that his assignment required him to return the Moon. He told the mistress that he would like to help. The head of the sect said that she would have to go herself. She demanded that the protagonist go with her. The mistress indicated that the showgirl's servant should remain as the lead. The subordinates were surprised at this instruction from mistress. One of the girls suggested that a few more disciples should go with the sect leader. The empress said they had no time to pack and were traveling light. One of the girls said she had something to explain to Zhang Lan. A servant girl told the protagonist that if he behaved inappropriately towards the empress, she would make a tincture of his thing. The protagonist and his mistress arrived in Lanier County. They walked through the streets. There were many people. The Empress said that the city is really prosperous. Zhang was carrying all of Madame's belongings on his back at this time. The lady suggested that the protagonist find an inn. Zhang thought happily to himself that he would be able to rest. The travelers arrived at the hotel building. There they were met by the owner. The host told the guests that all the inns in the city were now occupied. He added that there was only one vacant room in the inn. Zhang and his companion got very excited. The master suggested that the lady and her subordinate stay together in a room. The lady was with the guy in the hotel room. She said that the Wang family would hold a wedding ceremony for Wang Fugui in 3 days. She added that they should pick up the Wushuang girl before the wedding. The protagonist listened excitedly to his mistress and agreed with her wholeheartedly. The head of the sect was taking a bath. She asked the guy if he had any ideas. Zhang felt that it was hard for him to think with so much blood in his brain. Mistress came out of the shower. She said unhappily that in this hotel, even the legs on the tables are of different heights. Zhang held the table with his hands and said it would balance itself. The system told the guy that he was overcharged. Mrs. She went to the bed and told the guy that he would sleep on the floor. Zhang on the floor and said that he slept almost exactly the same way in the room in sect guards. Zhang, sitting on the floor, looking at his half-undressed empress, began to think about some philosophical concepts. Madame sat down in the lotus posture. She said that she would cultivate. He said to the guy to think about how they could bring back Wushuang. Zhang replied to mistress that he would do anything. He looked at her excitedly. To calm down a bit, the excited guy distracted himself with philosophical thoughts. The system informed him that the user must release the energy, or he would explode and die. Suddenly, Zhang ran out of the room. He shouted to the surprised empress that he would go out and look around. Near the castle, the girl commanded her subordinates to be on alert and report to her any movement within the city. The warriors replied that they would do anything. The warriors greeted the young girl as she passed by. After that, the girl jumped very quickly between the roofs of the buildings and jumped to the ground. Warriors stood on the balconies and watched everything very closely. Zhang stood near the tree and looked at the lock. The system reported that it should be releasing energy. The girl ran up behind the protagonist and shouted angrily that he was going to die now. The warrior swung her leg around and shouted that she knew the weak spot. Zhang saw his opponent's leg and thought happily that there was a chance for him. The girl kicked the protagonist in the groin. The surrounding people were surprised to hear an incomprehensible bell ringing. After the impact, the protagonist felt relieved. The system reported that the charge was down to 100%. The girl standing behind him was stunned. The girl said to John, surprised, that there is only one person in the world who is hard enough. The protagonist was unpleasantly surprised. He met a rival he already knew and hated. Zhang pinned the girl against a tree and said menacingly to keep quiet. The rival slyly told the guy that she would help him if he met her condition. Zhang was amazed that the girl wanted to see his third leg. She said confidently that her name was Wang Wanju, and that she had seen a lot of things in her life. She could not believe that there could be anything so hard in the world. The girl said she wanted to expose Zhang's secret. She began to undress him. Wanju asked the guy slyly, "Did he come here to see the Lun Wushuang girl?" The protagonist got excited. He told the interlocutor that he would let her see what she wanted in return. He asked to be escorted to the Wushuang. Wanju agreed. She added that if she found a steel plate on the guy, she would make him bleed. Zhang asked his interlocutor slyly, what could he possibly need the steel plates for? Wanju kept undressing the guy. She said she didn't believe him. The system informed the guy that partial augmentation had been used. The girl was surprised. Wanju was greatly amazed at what she saw. She hadn't even expected this. The loud scream of a startled girl spread around the area. The warriors became agitated after hearing it. One of the soldiers asked what the noise was. People realized it was a girl screaming. One of the soldiers decided to run out and check it out. The warriors gathered in the middle of the pathway and decided to split off in different directions to check it out. The protagonist told a terrified Wanju that she had nearly ruined him. Zhang then asked his new acquaintance to take him to the moon. The girl looked somewhere to the side and repeated that they were all liars. Zhang asked her interlocutor, why does she look like a ghost? The guy began to coward his acquaintance and yell at her to fulfill her part of the bargain. The girl complained that she had been deceived by bookstore owners. They told her that the pictures in the books were real. Wanju cried and said she was almost scared to death. Zhang calmed down and realized that his girlfriend had looked everything up in the books. After that, the protagonist along with Wanju rose up and flew through the sky. The warriors on the street did not notice them. After that, the girl and the main character landed together. Wanju pointed the guy to the house where Lun Wushuang was. The guy took a closer look. He realized from the aura that there was one person inside the house, and it must be Wushuang. The protagonist abruptly opened the door and cheerfully greeted the Wushuang sister. The girl was wearing a smart red dress. She staggered and turned to the protagonist. The moon girl was very much surprised when she saw the main character. Zhao very shyly covered his face and said that he didn't see anything. Lun took the guy's hand and led him into the room. She told him it wasn't the first time he'd done this. The girl commanded the guest to come in quickly so that no one would see him. Zhang asked her girlfriend, "Does she really plan to marry Wang Fugui?" Lun replied that only if she gets married will she keep everyone safe. Zhang told his girlfriend that they didn't need protection. He suggested that they go to the Empress together. At that time, outside, Wanju was looking at the house with excitement. She was worried because the main character hadn't come out. The man sternly questioned the maids. Did the moon really not want them to stay in the room? The main character was in the room with his girlfriend. They were excitedly listening to what was happening outside. The man sternly asked the Wanju why she was outside. The girl replied that she was keeping watch so that the bride would not escape. The man headed for the front door. He commanded the Wanju girl to continue around the city. Lun realized fearfully to herself that she and her boyfriend wouldn't be able to get through the door as they would be spotted. The protagonist realized he was going to get caught. He chided himself for needing to buy the invisibility amulet. The girl commanded her acquaintance sternly not to make a sound. She hid him under her clothes. The man opened the door abruptly and walked into the room. Wanju was very frightened. Lun asked the bath manager sternly, "Why didn't he knock before entering?" The man bewilderedly apologized to the young mistress. Wanju wondered where Zhang had gone. The guy lurked near the girl's legs. He thought he was lucky she had a long enough skirt. The protagonist suddenly touched the girl's leg with his hand. Lun felt awkward. She knew she shouldn't give away her emotions. The man asked the moons fearfully, wondering if she was sick by any chance. The girl blushed and said she was fine. She was just stung by a small insect. The protagonist sitting on the floor thought fearfully to himself that he would not disturb the Wushwang girl again. Zhang raised his gaze fearfully and saw the naked part of the girl. The man turned around and started to walk away. He told Lun to put on jewelry as a young master was coming to visit her soon. Lun interrogated fearfully and excitedly, "Will Wang Fugui come?" The manager angrily reminded the girl to dress more appropriately. The man then took the jewelry from the box the maid was holding. The man said that the young master himself had chosen the jewelry. He instructed the maid to dress the young lady in her wedding dress. Lun shouted fearfully to the maids that she could change her clothes. The manager himself said gruffly to Mrs. Lun not to be modest. The man reminded the girl that if the young master got angry, the Moon family and the Jade sect would drown in a river of blood. The girl listened fearfully to the manager's words. She realized that she would have to obey. The man went out the door and told the Wanju to follow him out together. One of the maids modestly asked Miss Moon to undress. Suddenly Wanju saw the protagonist hiding under the Moon's clothes. Wanju angrily thought to herself that this was definitely the end of Zhan Yu. The protagonist was frightened when he realized he might be discovered. The system suggested the guy buy a transformation item. Zhang received the right to buy a transformation talisman from the system. The guy's appearance will change to a random item within 30 minutes. The protagonist agreed to purchase the talisman. A selection wheel appeared. The system suggested that the party press stop to stop scrolling at the desired location. Zhang pressed the stop button. He hoped he wouldn't turn into a table or chair after all. The system prepared to turn the protagonist into a random item. The maids surrounded the Moon Girl and demanded her cooperation. They said that the young master would be here soon. Lun felt that something was going on under her clothes. She couldn't figure out what Zhanglan was doing there. Thereupon the maids removed her outer garments from the Moon's. The young mistress was not shy. The maid was surprised because of the Moon's very special underwear. Lun looked at herself and realized that she hadn't worn anything like this. She couldn't understand when Zhang had managed to escape. The protagonist at this time thought that it made the most sense for him to turn into underwear on the girl's body. The system told the protagonist to release the excess energy. At this time, a very agitated Wanju was walking around outside. She annoyed the manager by doing so. At that time, a young gentleman named Wan Fugui appeared. The man and Wanju rejoiced at his appearance. The guy offered to go see his fiancée right now. When Wang Fugui reached the house, he smelled the odor of a strange man. The steward told everyone in the house that a young gentleman had arrived. The maids all greeted the young master in unison. Lun looked at the guest unhappily. The guy walked over and said that Lun Wushwang could shock the whole world with her beauty. He added that Lun was much better than the other girls he knew. Lun told the interviewer that he had a lot of experience with women. Van replied that he had not had many women. The guy came up behind Lun and said slyly that he had only had 341 girls. The Van heir angrily couldn't understand why the girl smelled like another man. Afterward, the lad turned around and commanded Uncle Hay to hurry out. The man reminded the young gentleman that he had a couple days left and not to do anything until the wedding. The Wang heir angrily commanded Uncle Hay and the Wanju girl to get out. The man along with the girl turned around and started to walk away. Lun asked suspiciously to the heir, "What is he up to?" The heir told the girl rudely that he simply wanted to see the goods in advance. The system informed the guy that he should release the energy as soon as possible. Zhang was very excited. The van heir grabbed the girl angrily and said they needed to have some fun. The guy thought to himself that if he discovered that the bride was no longer a virgin, he would decide her position and good name right at the wedding. Suddenly, the young heir was very much surprised and amazed. The guy saw that the moon girl had something really hard starting to stick out under her dress. Lan stared at her body in amazement and shouted, "She herself doesn't know what it is." The young heir angrily asked the lunar girl, "Where could she have gotten that thing?" At the same time, the protagonist turned back into a human. He prepared to strike the heir to the WNN. The manager, standing outside, listened to the noise from the building and said that young people really don't know how to hold back. The heir kneeled down and shouted that his eyes hurt. Gai Zhang shouted that the young master wanted to spend the night with the moon even before the wedding. Ervan shouted angrily that the protagonist had stolen the demonic fox from him. Zhang happily replied to his rival that he would steal his bride from him today. The young heir shouted that he wanted to go to the Jade Sect himself to settle the score with John. He didn't expect the protagonist to come here by himself. After that, Ervan asked menacingly, how dare the protagonist tell him what to do? Inside the house, the battle between the protagonist and the young gentleman continued. Van shouted angrily to his rival that he would destroy him. The manager listened excitedly. He didn't understand what was going on inside the house. After another unsuccessful attack against the protagonist, Van bounced far back. Lun asked fearfully to the guy if he was injured. Zhang warily realized that his opponent had used 70% of the energy and was unable to win. Wang irritatedly noticed that the protagonist had only taken 2 steps after his punch. He thought that Zhang's level of perfection was higher than his. The young master realized that it would be very difficult for him to deal with Zhang. Wang asked his opponent with interest, what kind of technique does he practice? He added that the Jade Sect could not cultivate a person of Zhang's level. The protagonist calmly replied that he was cultivating an unconventional method. He added that he should take the Wushang with him, and suggested that his opponent stop him. Van angrily thought to himself that he didn't want to risk his life for the moon girl. The manager and his warriors rushed in. He shouted for them to protect the heir and capture the intruder. Van was glad to see help arriving. The protagonist told the Thunder Warriors that the Van family would cease to exist as of today. The manager said angrily that Zhang had invaded their territory and was saying crazy words. Wang explained to the boy that if he stole the girl he wanted to marry from him, he would lose face. The manager was astonished that the heir was willing to negotiate terms with Zhang. The protagonist decided to postpone the battle. To have time to raise his cultivation level, he proposed to Wang to postpone the wedding for 10 days. The young heir cheerfully told his interlocutor that he really wanted to steal the woman from him. He added that they should fight one more time with John. The protagonist realized fearfully that he had 90% charge, and that would be enough for one fight. The young heir said they'd fight not on strength but on size. He showed his hand how it would be. The protagonist was embarrassed at the suggestion. He remembered that the Wanju girl also wanted to see his size. The young heir smugly said that if the protagonist didn't want to embarrass himself, he could ask for forgiveness. The protagonist replied that he agreed but offered to compete outside the house. The manager said cheerfully that the young master's size was definitely astounding. Moons was very excited. Suddenly, the man saw something shocking and screamed loudly. The steward saw a young gentleman kneeling in amazement. Van watched the main character thinking amazed that there was such a big thing in the world. Zhang took off at this time and hovered above the manor. He shouted that the young heir himself had offered to compete. The protagonist descended from heaven to earth near the hotel. Zhang asked the system, how can he continue the path of the heart? The system responded to the protagonist that he must accomplish the renewal of the pervert's heart by choosing one of 2 tasks. The user was offered to perform a kiss on the Empress. Zhang was also offered a double cultivation with the Empress. The guy decided that it would be hard for him to perform all of this. Zhang opened the door to the building. He figured he could find another opportunity for himself like last time. The protagonist saw the mistress inside the house in her blue dress lying on the floor. The guy got excited. He realized he'd gotten a chance to do the system's job. The overjoyed Zhang shouted loudly that he had gotten amazing luck. The protagonist kneeled before the mistress and said quietly that his actions were to save her. Zhang prepared to kiss the Empress. He thought he would give her artificial respiration. Suddenly, the mistress opened her eyes. She asked the guy sternly, what is going on here? The main character got a very sudden fright. He didn't expect the girl to come to her senses. Having calmed down a little, the boy told the mistress that he had decided to rest a little, stretching out on the earth. The Empress asked her interlocutor what progress he was making. The protagonist reported excitedly that he had gotten into the Wei family and found the Wuxian girl there. He added that Lun wanted to marry Wang Fugui to save the lady. The girl said excitedly that it would be difficult for them to fight the Wang family, and especially the young heir. Madam added that the skill of the Wang Fugui surpassed even her level. Zhang told the sect leader that he had a plan, but he needed something to make it happen. Mistress asked calmly to the surprised boy, "Should he kiss her?" Madam said that the protagonist has a special cultivation technique. She told him to rest, and she would try to save Wushuang. After this, the mistress lay down on the bed and told the lad that it was getting late and he should rest. Zhang covered himself with a blanket and prepared to rest. He realized that the wedding had been postponed, and they could work things out after he woke up. Madam couldn't understand why the protagonist called her Yao Yao. She thought she felt a throbbing in her heart when Zhang approached her. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, some stranger sneaks up on the sleeping protagonist. She stands next to him. The protagonist opened his eyes abruptly and grabbed the approaching stranger with his hands. The Empress woke up. She illuminated the room with a balloon and asked sternly, "Who is here?" The protagonist scrutinized the incoming guest. He was surprised. Zhang noticed with great surprise the Wanju girl lying on the floor in front of him. Zhang asked the Wanju girl strictly why she had come after him. He reminded her that he had fulfilled all her requests and asked if she would make unreasonable demands again. The Wanju girl asked with surprise, what unreasonable demands was the protagonist talking about? The guest replied to the guy seriously she came to him to save him. The girl said that the young master had put out a call for the main character for the bounty. She added that the wedding between Van and Lun will go on as planned in 3 days. The protagonist banged his hand on the wall with anger. He shouted that the young master would renege on his promises he had made in front of the people. Wanju told the boys soothingly to hurry up and run away. The mistress sensed some sort of danger threatening them. She was still looking at John along with her guest. At this time, suddenly the wall of the building was pierced by several flying arrows. The main character fearfully shouted to the Wanju girl to hide behind him. The guest felt pleased and satisfied because of the attention of the protagonist. The sect leader thought to herself unhappily that the protagonist had somehow not protected her right away. Zhang turned to the sect leader and said that it was not safe for her to stay here any further. The Empress sternly asked the lad, "Why can't she stay here then?" After that, the mistress angrily shouted that someone had disturbed her peaceful cultivation. After that, a powerful explosion sounded, and the mistress threw the attackers away from the wall with her magic. The Empress activated her magical skills and they cast aside the incoming warriors. The ringleader shouted to his subordinates that whoever captured the protagonist would be rewarded with 5,000 gold pieces. After that, the warriors broke into the inn en masse to kill Zhang. The manager realized that the fighter called One-Eyed Blade Tyrant had decided to take a portion of the 10,000 gold reward. The man looked pleased with the fighters and decided that they could finish everything today. The Empress angrily shouted at the attackers that they had enough to live if they dared to attack the Jade Maiden sect. Zhang suggested that his friends retreat. After that, the protagonist, accompanied by the girls, flew upwards from the ground so that the warriors wouldn't get them. The superintendent came to report to the young master. The fellow Van was sitting surrounded by his maids. He asked sternly to the man, "Was the Vanru in cahoots with the protagonist?" The steward said that Vanra had been seen near Miss Long's quarters. He also said to take men to catch the girl and punish her. After thinking for a bit, the young master told his subordinate to take his time. Van's guy said very snarkily that he had a brilliant idea to make the game even more interesting. To the Erewhong, representatives of the Lingyun sect and some others came to the palace to congratulate him. One of the arriving leaders bowed and said they were congratulating the prince. Van thanked the sect masters. He added that his father was attending a Dao conference and would not return until tomorrow. The young heir said slyly, the 6 sect masters were always together. He asked unhappily, "Where's the master of the Jade Maiden sect?" The guest said that the Jade Maiden Empress was not at home, and that was why the 5 of them had come. The manager asked the guest named Dao Changrong, did he know where Long Wushuang had been hiding all these years? The man replied surprised that they had only recently found out. Changrong said that the girl was hiding in the Jade Maiden sect. Someone from the past warriors said that the senior disciple of the Jade Maiden sect was from the Wang family. The manager sternly asked the guests. Maybe they knew but didn't want to tell them about the girl. The guests fearfully replied that they really didn't know. The leader said that they were nothing compared to the Van family. Changrong told the manager that he had the nerve to slander their honored guest. Wang said reassuringly to Changrong that the Jade Maiden sect was now opposing them. The young heir told the guest that Zhanglan had embarrassed all the sects during the 6 sects competition a couple of days ago. After that, Van offered his guests a chance for revenge. He added that they could get rid of the troubled empress and the protagonist. The manager sternly told Wanju that she had done a reckless act. The girl asked her uncle excitedly, "What happened?" The man said sternly that Long Ushan left a note informing her that she was running away to avoid marriage. After that, the Wanju girl jumped up on her horse and shouted to the surrounding people to run. Changron looked contentedly at the fleeing Wanju girl and said that the fish had taken the bait. An excited girl galloped at high speed to the main character's house and shouted that something terrible had happened. Zhang asked excitedly at the guest. What is going on and why such a commotion? At this time, he was sitting next to the Empress. Wanju shouted that the girl Long Wushuang ran away and left a note before she died. Madame stood up and said that Wushuang would never choose death, to avoid problems. Wanju said that the manager had told her everything. The main character said that Wushuang came back to protect the Jade Maiden sect and the Long family. He added that it was very strange that Wanju came to deliver a message instead of looking for the missing girl. After a little thought, the girl said that it was indeed strange that the manager didn't want her to accompany him. Suddenly, the protagonist saw a bright flash. He shouted to his friends that they were in danger. The house where Zhang was with his girlfriends was hit very hard from the sky. Zhang, looking at the ruins of the house, said that if he had been a little closer, it would have been blown to pieces. The Empress frighteningly asked the protagonist for help. Mistress thought to herself that Zhang's chest was very wide and strong. Suddenly, a very loud scream came from the sky. The main character and the girls looked up. Warriors appeared in the sky, flying on swords. They were accompanied by the Changron leader. The Empress looked fearfully at the warriors and asked, "What's wrong with them?" Changron called the lady named Jun Yaiwan Yao and shouted that under her leadership, the Jade sect had disobeyed the Six Sects many times. He suggested that she should fight one-on-one. The protagonist told the frightened mistress that she had better not take any chances. The Empress replied that the warrior would not overpower her. Changron, standing in the midst of the field, said that he would show everyone today with the power of the Jade Buddha. The Empress said confidently to everyone around them that they would be able to watch the battle. Zhang wanted to warn the mistress against fighting. The protagonist noticed how Changron defended himself from a blow from above using magic. He decided that the man was very naive if he resorted to such attacks. Zhang decided to himself that he needed to quickly replenish his energy just in case. The guy decided that he needed to trade in some small yellow books again. Wanju cheerfully told the guy that he was great since he was able to foresee the danger. She shouted that she wanted to thank him. The main character told the girl that he wants a favor from her. Wanju asked with surprise, "What kind of favor does he want from her?" Zhang suggested that the girl wear a special outfit and cheer for the Empress. Wanju looked at the clothes and said surprised that they were quite small for her. Afterward, the girl said dreamily that it must look very pretty, and she was willing to try to wear it. At this time, the Empress crushed her opponent with a strong punch. She shouted to him menacingly that the Six Sects did not deserve the Jade Maiden sect. Suddenly, Mistress heard from the side as the girl shouted words of encouragement to her. Mistress saw a Wanju in a cheerleader costume dancing nearby and shouted words of encouragement to her. The Empress asked with interest, "What is going on?" Changron was also surprised to see the dancing girl. The protagonist thought to himself, Wanju was very much transformed when she put on the outfit. He realized that he could trust her with his destiny. Zhang didn't expect the girl to change right in front of him. The system informed him that his energy level had reached 150%. At this time, the Changron warrior jumped up and shouted menacingly to activate the Grand Formation. The Empress stood surrounded by a magical glow around her. Blue waves began to spread around Mistress. She couldn't attack any further. The main character, looking at the Mistress, realized that the special art of the Bath family had been used against him. The protagonist stood next to Wan Yu. He shouted menacingly to Wan Fugui, "That one is a bastard!" Zhang shouted angrily at his rival for revealing his family's secret technique to kill them. The young heir watched the battle from afar. He said slyly the five guys could use the power of the formation they had learned. The manager recalled fearfully that the ripple formation was a secret technique. He asked, was it appropriate to pass such a technique on to the warriors? The young heir told the man that he would not understand that. Van explained that divine arts are very flexible. He added that they could only kill the protagonist and the Empress through extraordinary means. The young heir smiled slyly and said that in the future, all 5 sect heads should be subordinate to the Wang family. The protagonist, looking at his suffering mistress, said she wouldn't last much longer. Zhang asked Wanzu fearfully for her to tell him about the weakness of the ripple information. The girl replied fearfully that she was only a distant relative and had no right to practice the art. The man menacingly asked the Empress, "Why is she kneeling now?" Wanzu told the protagonist fearfully that the Burning God Absolute Array was immune to outside influences. The protagonist commanded the girl to tell Long Wushuang not to sacrifice herself like that again. Zhang shouted to the girl not to worry about him and just leave. He also added for Wanju to hide her location. The guy activated his special powers. He said he had to get serious. The man shouted to his rival that he was a very brave guy. He added that he wanted to see what powers the main character had. Zhang jumped up from his seat. He shouted to the man that he was about to see his abilities. Shangron shouted cheerfully to his opponent that he was digging his own grave. After that, Zhang attacked his opponents with special skills with a loud shout. A powerful blow with magic from the protagonist threw the warriors far back. The protagonist Grozno shouted to his rivals that they were caught. He carried the unconscious mistress in his arms. The angry Changran shouted to the warriors that they couldn't let the protagonist escape. The protagonist ran very fast through the terrain. The warriors attacked him with magic. Zhang shouted to the Empress that they would find a place where she could be cured. He carried her in his arms. The warriors noticed that the protagonist had jumped into the river and escaped. They hovered over the water. Shangron said angrily that the Empress was on her last breath and they couldn't get far away. He added to his subordinates to search downstream. The protagonist climbed out of the river on the bank. The Empress, in his arms, had already come to her senses. Zhang asked Yao Yao fearfully if she was okay. The lady asked the protagonist to let her go. The girl asked the protagonist very angrily, so why did he save her? The guy explained that he was the protector of the Jade Maiden sect. He couldn't run away and abandon the sect leader. The Empress said that they needed to find a secluded place for her to be cured. Zhang told the girl that they could not fight because she was wounded. He suggested that she return to the sect. Yao Yao asked, what should they do with the Wushuang girl? The guy explained that Wanzhou had already gone to the Wushuang girl. He added that it was up to the moon to decide. Suddenly, the protagonist saw that for some reason his hair began to fall off his head. A very frightened Zhang asked the girl, did he really hit her for real? The protagonist was on his way to the Empress. The system informed the guy that he would be punished because of further thoughts to surrender. Mistress sat down and began to cultivate. She said she wanted to try if she could break through the narrow space. Zhang thought fearfully to himself that the lady lacked common sense. He remembered that he had helped her get rid of demonic cultivation a couple of times. Zhang saw the girl sitting completely detached in a state of deep meditation. The protagonist realized that now was a good opportunity for him to come clean. The guy told the Empress that he knew how to break through. The mistress came to her senses and asked the lad in surprise, what did he say? Zhang reported that in order to break through the profound description of the Jade Maiden, one would need a dual cultivation with someone with an extreme yang body. The Empress rather told the protagonist that he was really useful. Zhang excitedly thought to himself that his mistress had thought of him as a servant all along. Aloud, he asked the Empress, how on earth did she know that he had an extreme yang structure? Yao Yao said that after the guy came down from heaven, she prayed to her master for guidance. She immediately realized that Zhang was the one who could help her. Madame told the guy to waste no time and take advantage of the opportunity. Zhang asked fearfully, what should he take advantage of? The Empress reminded the guy that he himself had said that they needed dual cultivation. The protagonist was amazed that the Empress suggested he use the skills right there. Yao Yao threw off her clothes. She said that they should hurry because the 5 sects might arrive at any moment. Zhang was very excited. The Empress angrily said she would kill the guy if he cheated her. The protagonist cheerfully replied that he would try to generate more yang energy. Zhang demanded of the system that she give him a bed. Afterward, he kissed his Empress. A huge snake wriggled along the creek toward the mountain cave. Then the ravenous head of the snake crept into the cave where the lonely girl sat. The frightened girl shouted to the snake not to come any closer as she was very scared. Then suddenly the snake began to grow very large. Suddenly the size of the reptile became very huge and threatening. The girl was very much frightened and amazed at the sheer size of the serpent. An hour later, a huge pillar of fire appeared in the thicket of the forest. Huang Feng's heart engine improved. One of the warriors said in surprise that perhaps the Empress had broken through. He added that we should check on the Huarong. Another man said that if it was a weak moment for the mistress, they should not miss this opportunity. Someone called out to a warrior named Jishan Zi. Jishan and another warrior approached the cave. He shouted for the Empress to hide no longer. The Empress frightenedly told the protagonist that they were already being caught up. Zhang told the lady to stay in the cave and recuperate. He added that he would deal with the enemies. The Empress frightenedly thought to herself that their enemies couldn't wait just a little longer. The warriors saw someone walking through the cave. The man noticed that what they saw in front of them was not the Empress. The warriors saw the renewed Zhanglan in front of them. The guy's body capacity increased, and he was completely infected with energy. The man angrily called the protagonist a troublemaker. He added that he would personally kill him today. The protagonist told his opponent calmly that he was very confident. Then the angry warrior accelerated to attack the protagonist. The man activated his magic skill to strengthen his hand strike. The warrior then swung around and with his hand he pounded the protagonist's body with all his might. Zhang asked calmly to his surprised opponent, was this really the unique skill of the Jidao sect? The man angrily shouted that he had given his best and the protagonist had humiliated him. After that, the warrior used an even stronger super invincible and crushing skill. Zhang hit his opponent with all his might and shouted that he had opened wide. The warrior was surprised and amazed that the protagonist defeated Jishan Zi with a single blow. The warrior looked astonished at his colleague Jishan Zi lying on the ground. The protagonist asked sternly to the warrior, where did the other 3 opponents go? Coming to his senses a little, the man said angrily that the others would be here soon. The completely calm protagonist said he would wait for the rest of the competitors. The man timidly said that Zhang was an outstanding person. He suggested that he become friends. After a little thought, the protagonist agreed to his rival's proposal. The warrior created a table with treats and drinks and told the protagonist that they could worship the sky and become brothers. Zhang was surprised that his rival wore such strange clothes. The man told the guy that he would set an example and he could follow his lead. The man prepared to attack stealthily. He gave the protagonist a sly look. The warrior swung around and activated a skill called the Bird Soul Stealing Claw. The opponent shouted that the protagonist, even if he is a genius, he will beg for mercy after his reception. The protagonist calmly looked at his opponent. The system informed the guy that his level of directed charging had reached 30%. After that, the man swung around for another blow and shouted at Zhang that he would twist him into a ram's horn. The protagonist fended off his opponent's blow and knocked the man far aside with a pillar of fire. The battered warrior asked, surprised, how could it be that the main character had this place so strong? Zhang said calmly to his opponent that if he doubted, he would show him everything now. Afterward, the warrior was very much amazed after what the protagonist showed him. The warrior jumped up and said that no one could match his speed. The man decided that if he couldn't beat his opponent, he would run away from him. The protagonist was able to stop an opponent running away from him in time in flight. The empress asked wonderingly, what is that sound and is there a temple nearby? The battered man felt that he would never have thought he would end up in this situation. The protagonist, looking at the falling warrior, said that's how he's going to fall. A surprised madam came over. She asked the protagonist with astonishment, did he really defeat both dangerous rivals? Zhang said calmly that these two were just the beginning. He added that he would personally present him with a gift at Wang Fugui's wedding in 3 days. There were many guests at the wedding. People congratulated the young lord and brought him gifts. The Wan said there was a traitor in their house. He asked the Wanju girl angrily how could she turn her back on her family. Wanju angrily replied to the guy that his fiancée did not love him and he had no feelings for her. She added that the young master should let the moon go. The guy Wang said angrily to the girl that he was still sticking up for Wushwang. The steward asked the lord what they should do with the traitor. The Van replied that he could not shed blood on his wedding day. The young master commanded that the traitor be buried alive by the river. The girl was very frightened. The manager said they would wait until after the lord's wedding and then send Wanja to the other world. The young gentleman standing in the street asked in amazement if his newlywed was standing in front of him. The boy asked the maids if the moon was wearing the clothes he had chosen. The maid replied that everything was on the newlywed. The moon girl was displeased and frightened. Van said cheerfully that he couldn't wait any longer. At that time, warriors appeared in the sky. They shouted to Mr. Vanu that trouble had come. The leader said fearfully that they had failed. He also added that they had managed to injure the empress. The warrior said that nothing is known about the fate of Jishan and Minshuya. The moon girl tore off her veil and asked angrily to the soldiers, did they really attack the empress? The warrior leader was very much surprised to see the moons in front of him. The girl angrily reminded the young lord that she had agreed to marry him. Lun asked sternly to Vanya, so why did he send warriors to kill the empress? Afterward, the leader along with the warriors said that they had done nothing and had not even seen the empress. Lun shouted to the young master that he must fulfill his promise. The boy at that time put his hand over her mouth. The young gentleman shouted angrily at the girl to shut up. Van said angrily to Lun that he had no intention of marrying her. He added that the whole thing was an act. The young master said that he would send the moons after tonight and then destroy all the disciples of the Jade Lady sect into the coffin. The girl realized that the Van had sealed her meridians. The host said that the bride and groom should bow to heaven and earth. Someone noticed that young Mr. Wang did not bow for some reason. Lun girl kneeled down and apologized to teacher Zheng Lan. Van looked at the girl Lun carefully. The wedding host said to make a second bow to the parents and then the husband-wife bowed to each other. In the middle of the wedding ceremony, there was an explosion. Something broke through the ceiling and landed in the center of the room. The protagonist showed up. He shouted loudly to everyone present that he was against this marriage. The leader angrily asked the protagonist, how dare he still show up here? Wang told the guy angrily that it's his wedding and no one can call it off. He added that Zhang's opinion means nothing. The protagonist replied calmly that he can't decide, but there are those who do. Zhang chanted loudly to greet the empress. Yao Yao appeared in the doorway at that time. The guests marveled and marveled at the appearance of the empress. Someone said that she had the beauty of a heavenly fairy. The protagonist told the guests in embarrassment not to embarrass him. The young gentleman angrily asked the empress, how dare she tell him what to do? The lady said that a student cannot get married without her teacher's approval. Zhang added that they are against it, and therefore the marriage is not valid. Wang said angrily to Elder Chang Rong that as the head of the sixth sex, he must bring order to his ranks. The leader said calmly that it was natural. He added that they would not sit still while someone was sowing confusion. Zhang asked cheerfully to the leader, Have his subordinates Ji Shanzi and Mingxiu not appeared before him? The leader and the rest of the warriors became worried. He asked the boy apprehensively what he meant. The protagonist replied that he would tell it straight. Zhang said that he had personally killed the heads of the orders of Ji Shanzi and Minshuya. The leader was frightened. He couldn't believe that the protagonist could handle such opponents. Van remembered that until a couple days ago, Zhang's cultivation level was only at the 9th level. The deceased order heads were at the 3rd level of deity. The man said fearfully, Ji Shanzi and Minshuya's cultivation level had reached the peak and they couldn't lose to Zhang Yu. The protagonist calmly replied to his opponents that if they didn't believe him, they could try it themselves. After that, the guy activated and directed a fear spell against the leader. The young lord asked grudgingly to the warriors, did they chicken out? Van told his subordinates strictly that they would survive if they fought to the death with the protagonist. He added that if they retreated, they would be finished. The protagonist realized excitedly that Van wanted to use the warriors to drain him of his powers. After that, the warriors all rushed at the protagonist together. Zhang realized that he would not be able to hold off the 3 opponents. The protagonist drew his sword Gyun. He felt that he needed to act quickly. The young master was surprised when he saw the ancient artifact sword Gyun in the hands of the protagonist. Van couldn't understand what kind of opponent stood before him who was willing to fight 1 against 3. The leader shouted that the protagonist was fighting unfairly since they were fighting with their bare hands and Zhan had weapons in his hands. The guy said he was attacked by 3 men and the opponents still bring up honesty. After that, the warriors drew their swords. The man shouted that they were 3 old men against a young lad. The protagonist used his weapon to fend off the attacks of the warriors around him. The guests were frightened. Someone shouted that the glitter of battle cut his eyes. The protagonist thought that his opponents were at the high level of Heavenly Emperor. If the battle dragged on, it would not be easy for him. The system informed the guy that his charge level was at 60%. The Empress remembered that the protagonist had warned her that he might need her help, and he would signal her. Fighting the warriors, the protagonist shouted to the mistress to start acting now. The guests could not understand to whom the protagonist turned. Zhang could barely hold back his opponent's onslaught. He shouted to the mistress to act. Yao Yao realized she had nowhere to go. She unbuttoned her clothes in front of the main character. Zhang received a message that his charge had increased. He felt a surge of strength. The protagonist shattered the swords of his opponents with a powerful blow. The warriors and guests were amazed that Zhang was able to shatter their blades so easily. Van noticed that the girl had somehow transferred power to the protagonist. The man shouted menacingly to the guy that he would use the Chaos Strike against him. Zhang shouted back that he had nothing to fear. The leader told the guy that if he let go now, he'd be torn to pieces. If he didn't let go, he would die under the onslaught of the 3 warriors. Zhang replied to the man that he could just play along with them. His opponents can't let go of the power either. The guy knew to himself that he was full of energy. The warriors were surprised and frightened. The leader asked wonderingly, hasn't the inner strength of the protagonist been drained? The Empress asked fearfully and excitedly to Van Fugui, what is he doing? The young master prepared to attack. He said he couldn't miss such a chance. The man shouted to the young master that he was his second parent. Zhang frightenedly thought to himself that he had overestimated Vanya's sense of shame. The protagonist realized that there was only one thing that could shame the young master. Van activated his spell and told the protagonist that it was already over for him. Zhang asked Wang Fugui calmly if he remembered to whom he had lost in bed. The young master was very much taken aback. The warriors asked the protagonist with interest, what size are we talking about? Zhang replied that he could explain in detail. The young master said fearfully that he kept out of his subordinates' business, and they should stay out of his business too. The leader of the warriors shouted to the young lord that he could not leave them to their doom. The leader shouted to the warrior next to him to put all his strength into it. The protagonist swung the sword and shouted that it was time to strike now. The protagonist's powerful punch sent his opponents flying far away. The protagonist looked at the defeated warrior leader who sat on the earth. The guests marveled at the protagonist's victory over the 3 sect lords. They could not understand how such a person had appeared in Jianghu. The protagonist looked at the young master and said it was time to get back to business. He asked if the van would let the girl next to him go. The young lord shouted to the main character to attack. He activated his skills. Zhang thought excitedly to himself that he had lost quite a bit of energy in the battle with the 3 lords in front of him. Now there's also Wang Fugui, who is full of energy. The guy realized that he needed to regain his strength, but he didn't know how to do it in front of everyone. He saw a young gentleman standing in front of him with a magic ball in his hand. Van asked angrily at his rival why he was hiding behind a woman's back. He realized to himself that the Empress was the key to the protagonist's power. Zhang, standing behind the girl, said that he wanted the Empress to move farther away so as not to hurt herself. The young master launched a fireball in flight and shouted for the protagonist to not even dream. The launched magic ball struck the standing Empress with a crash. All the guests were amazed because the Empress had been defeated with one blow. Yao Yao was lying on the floor. The protagonist asked excitedly to the mistress, "How does she feel?" The guy thought to himself that Yao Yao had not recovered her energy and therefore missed the strike. The Empress said in a weak voice that she couldn't help the guy. She added for him to ask Chu Yang for help. A young gentleman asked his rivals if they would fight since he wanted to go get married. The protagonist touched the floor and commanded the system to direct the energy to the feet. After hitting the floor, a trace of magical energy hit the building. The guests were surprised and bounced away. The protagonist concentrated and prepared to attack next. The young gentleman was surprised when he noticed that the protagonist ran past him very quickly. Zhang fell through the wall at high speed and ran away quickly, disappearing into the distance. One of the maids said fearfully that the guy had stolen the bride. The young lord was angry because the protagonist couldn't defeat him but stole the moons. A group of warriors persistently searched for the protagonist throughout the estate. At this time, Zhang was sitting with the girl in safety. Lun asked Zhang excitedly, how could he leave his mistress? The protagonist replied to the girl not to worry. Zhang turned to Lun and told her confidently that she should help him. The girl asked the protagonist how she could help him. The guy at that time demanded a new set of clothes from the system. The system reported that the user bought a new dress for himself for 200 points. The protagonist handed the girl a dress and explained to her to put it on. It was the only way he could regain his strength. Lun began to undress. She told the protagonist that she wanted to believe him. The moon girl sternly demanded of the protagonist that he give up her clothes. Zhang excitedly thanked Mr. Wang for the gift of the suit. At this time, the Empress was bound in the house of a young master. The van told the girl that her apprentice had deserted her and run away. Guy approached the bound Yao Yao and said that she would replace the Lun Wushuang girl at his wedding. The guests were overjoyed. They shouted that the young gentleman was very lucky. The young master excitedly said that the Lun Wushuang girl was seriously inferior in beauty to the Empress. Van had already prepared to kiss the girl standing in front of him. Suddenly there was some kind of obstacle. The young master was wounded. He screamed and the servants rushed to him. The protagonist appeared in the fire. He shouted that Van was forcing people to marry and dared to even kiss other women. Zhang, standing with sword in hand, shouted angrily that the young master was unworthy of life. The Empress was happy that her savior had appeared. Van offered the protagonist to fight fair without swords. After that, the protagonist threw his weapon aside and told Vanya that he was in agreement. After that, the protagonist rushed at high speed against the opponent. The young gentleman angrily shouted to the protagonist that he was now dead. Van shouted that he was superior to his opponent in strength and speed. He would also add ghost toad poison. The girl shouted fearfully that Wang Fugui had a weapon. The young master replied cheerfully that it was just an ornament. The main character bounced to the side very quickly. The opponent couldn't hit him. Zhang took out a huge hammer and told Vanya that he had brought something too. Then the protagonist swung around to hit his opponent with the hammer with all his might. Zhang then swung the young master's hammer into the floor with a powerful swing.